Oh, yeah. Radio. Oh, yes. Hey, people. Can you people hear me? Get a bit closer. 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 There we go. Just a bit closer, yeah. Just there we go. Okay. Radio. Hey, people. How you doing? It's yours truly, and let's talk about anything, really. I'm not quite sure what. Yeah. So, welcome to my one of my lounge rooms. Hope you've been all doing great. And yeah, let's talk. Shoot me some questions. Let's talk. Let's chat. I don't know what we're going to chat about. Got some grog here. It literally is grog. I found out what grog is. It's actually rum and water mixed together. Can you believe that? Hope you guys can hear me good. Let's talk. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Talk about anything, really. Yeah. So, hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are doing awesome. Someone says good evening. Yeah, good evening. Yeah. Yeah, hey, guys. I hope you're doing fantastic, So, here we are in Melbourne, and apparently we've been locked down more than Wuhan. Let me tell you about it. So, for the people who are living here, which are going to be a few of you, a couple of you, we have to be inside 8 a.m. onwards. Just 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Just unbelievable. It's just stupid. And so we have to do this. And it's going to be for another 5 weeks. And it's already been about 3 months of it. Or at least 1 month of this. No, it's been 7 weeks of this curfew. Yeah, so it's just crazy. Anyway. Yeah. So, woo. Yeah. So, Tot says, good morning from Apopka. Good morning, Tot. And Kimberly, hey Chucky, hey Kimberly of the Northern Territory, isn't it? Something like that. Ryan, hey Ryan, how you doing? Hello, Dad, Johnny and Flint Eastwood. Yeah. Hey Tot. Tot says a UFO in New Jersey on the 14th. They're calling it a blimp. Honestly, I don't know why they call it that. Like, what's wrong with them? Mr. 8007 says, I feel for you, Charles, regards from Sydney. Top Track says, probably a new military toy. Yeah, well, it could be, eh? Hey, Mr. Sydney, how you doing? I hope Sydney's doing absolutely awesome. I love Sydney. It's just such a... That Sydney area around the Opera House is the most spectacular part of Australia. You've got the old town there. Sydney has an old town called the Rocks. And I didn't know about that until I saw it last year, because usually you have to go to Europe to see an old town like that. In Melbourne, I used to run a tour. And we don't have an old town. They destroyed it. The descendants of Melbourne, the founders of Melbourne, come from Launceston in Tasmania. In Tasmania, next to the river, it's a whole 19th century town. Everyone keeps fleeing Launceston to come to Melbourne. You can see a warehouse on the river, which was filled with the tools and supplies to found Melbourne. You can see the original pub in Launceston, where the idea of founding Melbourne in 1835 was conceived. It's just unbelievable. It's just incredible. And now here we are in Melbourne. We're sort of trapped here. I used to just drive at night time and do things at night time, cruise around. I got a nice V8, just cruise around. That was my hobby. And we're not even allowed to do that anymore. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable, I tell you. Just crazy. So, yeah, okay. Right. So they're saying the UFO. So Johnny says, when did the Dead Sea turn from a lake to a sea? Yeah, Johnny, you're asking the sort of question that you sort of ask St. Peter when you get to the pearly gates. I can't answer this question. This is a very interesting question you're asking me, sir. I mean, Matt says, Charlie, Chucky, old mate, Chaz, how you been? What do you know? How's life treating you, mate? It's treating me very well. I hope it's treating you very, very well as well. Yeah. Johnny says Agenda 21. Throttle Addiction says, is COVID normal? I guess it is. It'll be like this maybe until I realize it's not that bad, I guess. But who knows? Yeah, or is it that bad? I don't know. Maybe it is that bad. No one really knows. No one can agree on anything, can they? I mean, you know, just crazy. Anyway, yeah. So, oh yeah. So, oh, nice curtains. Yeah, I got to layer them a bit because they're pretty thin. And there's a block of flats right there. So I've got that little Art Deco display on each side there. Oh, the charger just fell out. Yeah, come on, plug in charger. Hang on. Oh. But you know, I just wanted to say hi because it's a bit lonely here, and you know. Yep. All right. Right. Okay. There we go. I'm choking. There we go. That's better. Right. Yeah. Oh, hello, Julie from Northern Ireland. What time is it in Northern Ireland? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hello. Hello, Hitman V. Yeah, okay. Oh, Gritty Vegan says it's 11:07 a.m. in Northern Ireland. Is it raining? Tell me it's not raining. Yeah. So, Mr. 86 processor says, I heard Qantas are doing joy flights from Sydney over Queensland since the border is closed. And the heavy rain had actually pushed for some reason, had pushed the seeds back up, but a couple of them had sprouted, so I pushed them all back down again today. So we'll see how it's going, won't we? We'll see how it's damn well going. Yeah. So that's how the Amazon soil experiment's going. So Matt says, still free range here in South Australia. Rural areas have basically no restrictions. As William Wallace would say, freedom! Indeed. Yeah, he would say that, wouldn't he? Yeah. All right. So what else? What are people saying? Johnny says, be like flying over the sea. What? Joy flight over Victoria or something. Need more lighting on your face. 60 minutes into like a 60-minute interview with an informant. Yeah. Okay. That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Hang on. Ah! What happened? Hang on. Right. Is that better? Ah! Yeah, it's a bit dark in here. Yeah, so I'm not allowed to talk. Right, 60 minutes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, so I just want to say hi, how you doing? Hope everyone's doing great. Hope everyone's having an amazing day and all that. And hello from Smoky Willamette Valley. Where's that? Johnny says, I'm in South Australia, mid-north. Mr. Eastwood says he changed his name. Good for you. Chris says Tasmania is pretty safe. Oh, you're in Tasmania. Nice. Where are you in Tasmania? Tasmania is just beautiful. One of the most unspoilt places on earth. If you go from Tasmania to Victoria, it's like going from it's in many respects it's pre-colonial, many parts of the wilderness. But you go to Victoria, it's like everything's been destroyed. There's buildings everywhere and everything's a farm. And even in the forest, there's not too much to see because most of them have been logged. But not as logged as America. You go to any forests in America, it's like all the trees are young because some entrepreneurs already chopped them down maybe 10 years ago, you know. You can't even find a forest, you know. Yeah. Woo! In Hobart Town, nice. Yeah. Scaredy Cat Jane Jones says, good to have you. Yeah, right. Okay. Hey, Lapis Philosophorum, how you doing? He wants a second Venus vid, female and bird goddess. Cool. Amanda, hello, Amanda B. Hey, how you doing? Oh yeah. So, was it raining in Northern Ireland? I have to check. Hang on. Let's go up. Go. I didn't see. Oh yeah, you're getting a break from the rain. That's nice. Ireland is just amazing, but Northern Ireland has an issue in that it just rains endlessly there. So, I mean, what the hell is going on, you know? I'll turn it around so the light's on me. Right, okay, hang on. I just have to plug it. I just have to turn it around. Turn it around. There we go. Just turn it around. Right, okay. Right. Okay, there we go. Right. So, what were you guys saying again? You were saying something. Let me see. Right. So last year I was like 100 kilos, then I was 85 kilos, and now I'm back to like 104 kilos. This is unbelievable, you know. There's nothing to do, you know. It's literally nothing to do. It's yeah. It's funny. Anyway. Yeah, but I hope you guys are doing, you know, just awesome and amazing. You know, having a good time. Yeah, okay. Right. So yeah, comfortable now. Hey, Love Matters, how you going? You have some nice smiley faces there, I see. Quite nice. Yeah, now you can see yeah, Throttle Addiction, yeah. Hey, Throttle Addiction, you've got a channel, do you not? About, you have a very good channel. Throttle Addiction is in Victoria. Check out his channel. He does motorbikes and things, doesn't he? Yeah. So Big Dummy says, I've heard of Sasquatch out here in Georgia. The Appalachian Trail is magnificent. Oh, that's awesome. So the Appalachian Mountains are just a beautiful mountain range, and they're full of, for people who haven't been there, they're full of they've got rustic people there, who they fix things themselves. So you see in their front yards, they'll have a few cars, a few trucks, and they fix their houses themselves. And it's different to other parts of America. And also there's Amish people there. So you see these the horse and buggy, and you think, well, why haven't these people changed? You know, yeah. I mean, what's in the religion to stop them from changing? You know, what's going on? Like, are they that extreme Protestant? What's going on with that? That's so strange. Anyway. Yeah, the Bigfoot there, that'd be interesting, eh? Shane says, most interesting book in English history. I don't know. Whatever you're interested in will be the most interesting book for you, I guess. Yeah. So Amanda B says, wives are their daughters. So you're talking about the Appalachians. Well, I didn't want to say rednecks, so I said rustic people, but like Northern Michigan, so someone told me, an American told me, so we were in Northern Michigan, that up peninsula, they said these are like woods people. But they're in the Appalachians, they're a bit different because but you can say they're very technical people. They fix everything themselves, and they're very, you know, that's a nice place to be. Did you guys watch the show Appalachian Outlaws? What a show. Was it that? Surely that was scripted. That was, they were breaking the law at every turn. They were shooting at each other, and all on camera. Unbelievable. What a show that was. Wow. Woo. Yeah. So Love Matters says, I question the electromagnetics in the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, exactly. The electromagnetics in the Appalachian Mountains are electromagnetic, and that's where all the if you look at where all the stone circles are positioned in UK, they're all positioned on geological faults. Did you know that? So this was done about 1980. Thank you so much, Jay Law. This was done about 1980. It was I forget the book, but it was a beautiful piece of research. And the guy found out that all the stone circles are on geological faults. And Robert Temple followed this up, and he found that all the oracles are also on geological faults. And lots of the oracles rely on the geological faults because there's hot springs under all oracles in Greece and other places in the ancient world. And they found that there were noxious gases coming out, which could have induced delirium states. So, I mean, what's going on? Just crazy, just crazy. Oh, so Jay Lord, hey, Jay Lord, says, can you elaborate on the redhead civilization you believe existed in civilization? Yeah, sure. So they come from the UK. So I recently wrote an article, check that out, it's on the Facebook. And the ancient redheads, they come from the UK. It looks like Doggerland was their home. They had feet, inches, miles. They were just incredible people. They went around, I think they mapped the world. They were the Clovis people, and they mapped the planet in 10,000 BC, and they are the Ice Age Sea Kings that Charles Hapgood wrote about. And they are the ones, actually, we found out in this article that I wrote, they're the ones who built all the things that Brian Forster is looking at, because the Incas actually wrote down that all these raised valleys, so the terracing, all the fountains from rocks, so all those pictures with the fountains pouring out of the rocks, where it's a deliberate fountain, all of that, Incas claim and the pre-Incas claim was built by the ancient redhead giants who were before them. So all that Inca stuff we're seeing, the megalithic stuff, it was all redheads. So they had a civilization a really long time ago, and they built all this stuff, and they had a worldwide empire. They had monarchies everywhere. So from the Incas to the the pre-Aztecs, the Tenochtitlan civilization, to the Tarascans, to all of them had monarchies, and the aristocrats and the elite were the redheads, and the underlings and the citizens were what we call the Indians. And that's how their civilization worked. And the Indians who wanted to join the aristocracy would bind their heads and give themselves elongated heads, make their heads bigger, so they too could join in the aristocracy. And that's how it worked. Just incredible. By the way, that's a picture of Triple Goddess there. So that's the ancient redhead civilization. What do you guys think? So Kimberly says, talk to me about Oracle Springs one day, please. I'm going to sleep now. Okay, have a good sleep. Check out, I don't know, it's kind of rude to suggest someone reads a whole book, but Robert Temple wrote stuff about this, and he wrote about oracles. His book is called Oracles of the Dead, and he really examined this. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Love Matters says, water is so important to understand, especially flowing water. Heart. Indeed. Amanda B says, look up. Okay, she says, Indigenous map water holes with the stars. She also says, we water ocean salt and the capability to float. Resets body, we water all levels out. Hey, Thrill Addiction, he says, feet, inches, and miles, and measurement references connected with sacred knowledge and mathematical scales of the earth. Correct. So feet, inches, and miles were not invented by the Romans. They're everywhere. They were since ancient times. And I've been seeing that the metric has also been since ancient times. And the metric was actually contrived geodesically. So isn't it what, 10,000? From the equator to pole, divide 10,000 is something like a meter or something like that, or divide 100,000 is a meter. Right? So if the ancients had that, because there's a Sumerian unit which is a half a meter. So if the ancients had this unit, that means they perhaps derived imperial from the size of the earth, but also metric from the size of the earth. And these authors who wrote this book on, what was it called? It was called, I forget what it was called, but it's just the best book. And they said the megalithic yard was derived by, it's the length of a string in order to get 36 swings over 360 swings of the pendulum over 10 minutes or something like that. And so it's all based on tempo and motion and everything. And the thing is, these ancient people were the best thinkers in the world. They with these long skull people, like better than thinkers today. But they had a Stone Age environment. Can you imagine? They're trying to write down their knowledge. and they can't because they don't have the libraries or the tool. They would have libraries, but they don't have the tools or anything. Can you imagine that? You have a huge brain and you can't write down anything? Like, what sort of a world was that? But they lived in such a world. Weird, eh? Yeah. Just interesting. So, Love Matters says, sweet picture. Yeah. Amanda B says, so summertime, do the beach every day. Yeah, that's the plan. Beach every day in summer. Yeah, for sure. I think everyone in Melbourne will do the beach every day for about a week after. You won't be able to go outside for about a week after they stop this lockdown. And then everyone's going to be like, oh, this is boring now. And they'll stay at home. So, yeah. Lapis Philosophorum says they had stone to vitalize water. Are you ning over the stone? It's waved. Cool. Amanda says, healing tool the ocean, but added music, the water, you got magic, frequency, and float tank. Haven't seen one yet. Fast Eddie says, you drink your vodka straight, comrade. This is just rum and water. It's not straight. That's rum. So it's yellow. Yeah, it's grog. Right. Dinkum Aussie says, how long is a piece of string? The piece of string was a megalithic yard. So, and they got to a certain number of swings. No, it was like a degree. They were measuring at 1 degree. What they did, they swung it, and they kept waiting for the sky to turn 1 degree. So they had 360 posts in the ground, or it was actually 366. So according to these authors, they had 366. Does someone know this book? 366 posts, and when the stars had shifted 1 degree at night time, they stopped swinging and they counted the swings, and they found that there were 366 swings in 1 degree at a certain length. So they had to keep trying with different lengths, and that length of string became the megalithic yard. And that's how they did it. And that megalithic yard is used in the pyramids. It's used in every megalithic ancient monument. So this was a unit of the ancient redheads derived over 10,000 years ago. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Pat says Dan Andrews is a commie. I better not say anything. Amanda says, poor peeps. Mr. Futuretastic says, Charles, would you be interested in collaborating? I have some discoveries I truly think could change the world. How can I? Just send me an email. Just go to my website, send me an email. Amanda B says, lol, you read everyone's lol. Paul from Newcastle, hey Charles, Amanda, and all. That's a nice hippie message there. It's beautiful, yeah. Yeah, Johnny List sends a picture of a foot. Nice. Fast Eddie says, why do men have nipples? They have nipples because the sex is determined very late in the gestation. And that's why lots of people are sort of both man and woman. I guess but they're the best combination that was chosen at the time. And you can't say they weren't. Or can you? No, you can't. You can't. Kimberly says, yes, amazing. Mr. 80,086 says, did you ever hear of Egyptian writing that was found in Gosford near Sydney? Oh, yeah. Dinkum Aussie says, so it's like how many hands to a cubit? Yeah. Yeah, it's just amazing. Amanda B says, my kid's born in Gosford Hospital. Oh, wow. Ever heard of crater Earth theory? No. Yes, I mean, it's like this is, there's so much isn't there so much ancient history? And we can't even, so I made a Facebook post and I said, we can't even maintain our own statues, our own buildings like Notre Dame. France is at the height of its civilization. It can't maintain Notre Dame. It can't rebuild Notre Dame. It was its perhaps greatest monument. How the heck can something from a previous civilization have a chance of surviving based on this particular world? It's so weird. Hey, thanks, Jay Lloyd. You're very generous indeed. He says, we're the redheads in Australia, and are they the white mummies? Yeah, they are the white mummies in China. They're literally the founders of Chinese civilization. So Chinese civilization is as old as it is because it was founded, and as wise as it is, because it was literally founded on principles laid out by the ancient redheads. Just as the Viracocha tried to lay out principles in ancient America, such as Don't sacrifice the humans, please. That's a bit wrong. We have a bit of an aversion to that. And they did the same thing in China. They had the witches' hats for their special. So on a holiday, they would dress in a witch's hat, and they would have a little ceremony. And that's why it became the fool's hat in modern times. It survived as the fool's hat because I reckon in the Middle Ages, hardly any pictures or books survived from the Middle Ages, but I reckon where the witch's hat comes from is in the Middle Ages, people were still wearing the fool's hats on the public holidays. And that's where it comes from. I reckon it must be that, because how do you have continuity? How did they know that people used to dress up in witches' hats if we've only just found one of the Tamarind mummies in China, a female redhead, has a huge pointy witch's hat which looks just ridiculous and looks just like something out of fiction? How would we know unless we were doing it until very recent times? It must have ended around, I reckon it ended in Germany around the time of the Religious Reformation Wars. That's when it would have ended. And then we stopped wearing the witches' hats. Maybe some of that. Yeah. Right. Dinkum says, the Rangers did it. Fast Eddie says, are the Dynamo class interbred with the redheads? Who's the Dynamo? Because that sounds like Japanese or something. But have you noticed lots of Germans look like Japanese? I mean, you take someone like Heinrich Himmler. To me, he looks like Tojo. He looks like a Japanese person. And in World War II, the Germans, see, the Germans had a natural affinity for Japan. They're very similar peoples. They have the hard. They both believe in this hard work philosophy, whereas nations like England would say, well, freedom is more important than hard work. I don't know if the Germans or the Japanese would agree with that. So interesting. Anyway, yeah. Well, the Doggerlanders, to me, were a similar race to the Japanese. They're very similar people. There's something in the genetics. They're both redoubts. They're both islands hidden away from the rest of the world. They're on their own for thousands of years while the rest of the world is breeding differently, breeding with different people. And these countries are isolated, historically isolated. They have a tradition of isolation. Britain less than Japan. Are the Japanese, with their massive IQs, descended from these redhead giants? Are they direct descendants? But they're also, confusingly enough, they're mixed with Filipinos because they have the brown shade of skin. So they're like Filipinos mixed with these ancient giants. That's created the Japanese race. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Hey, Ella. Hi from the UK, Charles and everyone. Do you agree that our history is being erased in a hurry at the moment? Hey, at the moment, yeah, it looks like history is not very PC to have a history at all, because the history is not the same as the history of the others. And if everyone is the same or equal, how can you have a history? It conflicts with political views at the moment, doesn't it? To even have a history conflicts with political views, because then you can say to someone, well, hey, he doesn't have a history, does he? So, but an unfortunate effect of that, bad or good, is that you see what's happening. If the statues are being erased, the history is being erased, we're going to forget who Churchill was. The next generation, they're going to say in UK, they're going to say, who was Churchill? And they're going to say, well, we don't teach about Churchill because that's not really an appropriate history, is it? You see what I mean? That's how it's going to be, you know, for better or worse, you know? Don't you think? What do you think? Anyway, yeah. Yeah, okay. Ter says someone starting with H looks like Walt Disney. Interesting. Asahuyu says both colonized from Southern America. So you're saying both Germany and Japan colonized from Southern America? Old Sachen is like old Oi languages. Culprit Book says, I've got red hair in my beard and sometimes I get random giant hairs. Nice. Yeah. I think probably most white guys have red hair in their beard. I got it coming up in my there in the mustache. Like it's red and blonde, and there it's a few red. This is actually a bit red. So that's dark brown, and that actually comes up as a bit red. Isn't that weird? That's weird. Anyway, Thomas says, morning from Canada. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah. Oh, I have to make sure it's charging. Come on, charge up, charge up, charge up. Charge up. Yeah. Charge. I don't know why. I have to switch it on. Now we're in business. Yeah, otherwise the computer would stop working, eh? Right. Hey, Richard says, morning from New York City. Was wondering what your thoughts are on the so-called cart ruts found throughout parts of Europe. Really are. Those damn things are super mysterious and all over the place. So a friend actually went there last year or the year before, and he investigated them. He sent me lots of photos, and he came up with some conclusions, which I unfortunately can't remember because maybe too much of this. But I believe he said it's not, what he said was it's not as simple as cart ruts. He said there might be a natural explanation, I think, behind some of them. They're squiggly, they go all over the place, they don't look like a tram track. There's something geological about them. Yeah, it's it's mysterious as hell. Yeah. So Divide says, do you believe some of the ancient megalithic structures from the past could be connected as ancient power grids? And the pyramid, for example, looks like a power plant type of design from the north. Yeah, sort of. I mean, you know, I'll give you a better way of putting that. Maybe what you would like to consider saying is that the civilization that built the pyramids had experience with building power grids and incorporate some philosophical elements of a power grid into the design of the pyramids, even though the pyramids are not necessarily power grids. Maybe that, you know, you might like to put it that way, you know, because you can't just say it is and then there's no evidence, you know, but I don't know. So Buckdog says there's more to Freemasonry than we know. Yeah, Johnny says some people live in a fantasy world. Amanda B says all good, happy times to come. We hope so. Yeah, Amanda says my pop was Eastern Sydney Scottish Rite. Oh, nice. So maybe your pop was a company director or something like that. Literally, all the public company directors are in the Freemasons and stuff, and you know, they say, why do the government, see, so why does the government, I have to ask a question, why does the government never, in no country, reform the police forces so they don't brutalize people? Why does that never happen? And I read some document today, someone said it's because governments rely on the police so they don't want to antagonize them. Hey, J. Lord, thanks very much. And they don't want to antagonize them. So, but if they did, there would be protests, it would be nice. So J. Lord says, were they in Australia, and have you heard of the Tocharians? The Yarran mummies are not giants, though. Yeah, I guess not. The Tamarin mummies of China are not giants. They're just redheads. But we see a tradition extending of redheads from China. So the Chinese people are smaller. Maybe those redheads already mixed with the pre-Chinese, the shorter people who became the modern Chinese. And that's why the redheads are smaller in China, because they have been finding in Bulgaria and other places, and Bulgaria especially has an ancient royal dynasty, an ancient royal tomb full of beautiful, beautiful, wonderful gold from 3000 BC. It's like, it makes Troy look young. It's just incredible. And your question is, have you heard of the Tocharians are the Tamarin mummies, apparently, yeah. So the redheads were from the Black Sea area, as Brian Forster very cleverly discovered with his, you know, see Brian Forster was following up what Von Daniken said. Von Daniken said, look, he put his glass down and he said, look, how can every one of these skulls have been bound if there was no original people who were bound in that way to cause them to bind? And Forster said that's a very good argument, and he pulled out the volume, and how you measure the volume of a skull, you fill it with beads, and then you see what the volume, you know what the volume is, and you see the volume, and he said, well, hang on a sec, you don't change the volume by doing this, and he found that from the Black Sea. I mean, that's his best discovery. That's incredible. He's very smart to have worked that out. He's a real scientist. Yeah, Throttle Addiction says, what's your take on the supposed ancient stone calendar at the Wurdi Youang site in Victoria? So a friend took me to Wurdi Youang, and I got the drone footage above it. And we were there on the solstice. It was beautiful on the winter solstice. And I have to say, they better keep it secret or wrap a fence around it and just have an overhead thing to walk to see it overhead. That's it, because the stones can easily be taken away. And they say they're apparently 10,000 years old. Thing is, these stone circles were all over Victoria. They've been wiped out. They've been destroyed, unfortunately. And you see them on farmers' properties. These stones are everywhere, like they're in the walls, in the fences. They're piled up. These farmers have been very busy destroying them for the past 200 years, and there's a couple left, literally a couple left, maybe more in Tasmania, in the forest, and we don't see them. What was the question? I don't know, scroll. Could prevent people from, what do you say about removing statues? Ides of March says it would be nice if police could prevent people from removing statues. I guess that's not the police job. Is whatever the governor, the mayor, the government says is their job, and they'll do exactly that, and that's their loyalty. Yeah. So it depends what sort of police they are, doesn't it? Who their boss is. Yeah. So I mean, if we can't even have statues from, wouldn't it be nice if there were still Roman statues of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony standing in Rome and Brutus? That would be incredible, but we hardly have any. We just have like Greek reproductions from people's mansions, or just reproductions done later on. And we can't even preserve a statue that was done like 1 or 2 generations ago. How can we have a hope that ancient, highly technological civilizations have anything that has survived? You see? We can't even protect Notre Dame. I would have thought even rebuilding Notre Dame would be a national emergency. They should have dropped the water bombers on it. Why didn't they do that? It's oak. It's not. Anyway, yeah. So that's right. They want it to burn down. I'll tell you that. They wanted it to. Yeah, because it's history. Yeah. So Luna Sparkle says, love those wooden tomb models in Egypt, folk art, etc. Woo! Yeah, it's getting hot in here, actually. I'm talking a lot. So, where were we? Someone said, Humvee says, pyramids make great gravity pumps. Yeah. Yeah. Amanda says, oh, man, the cops. Yeah. Hey, you better, if we're talking about that, we need to talk quietly. Shh, don't talk too loudly. We'll just talk quietly from now on for the rest of the video. YouTube will never know, right? Yeah, that's better. Aromatherapy, right. Woo! So, Lapis Philosophorum, who is always saying amazing things, says, for sure, Phoenicians, Celts, and maybe even Neanderthals. Yeah. Humvee says, from salted ice sheets. Yeah. Luna Sparkle says, oh my God, roadside attractions years later going to be funny. Yeah, there won't be any, eh? Lapis Philosophorum says, what happened? It's Scott. Says, you said that already. Okay. Hang on. Hi, Bogus Hype. Oh, thanks very much. Bogus Hype says, what do you think of the idea that Vatican created Islam? I'll tell you what about Islam. Have I said this before? So I read the Quran recently, and it's actually full of ideas about pyramids. I'll have to make a video, but it's full of pyramid ideas. It keeps saying you will have a tomb with gardens and lakes. It sounds like underneath a pyramid, right? But there's no mention of pyramids. The Quran is heavily edited, and lots of Muslims actually accept this. They accept that it's heavily edited and changed over history. We all know this. But it's edited so much that many of the original stories seem to be gone, literally gone from it, unfortunately. So did the Vatican create Islam? Islam literally is St. Paul. It comes from, I shouldn't say too much, but it's based on belief. So it's always you must believe or you'll go to hell and damnation, and it keeps repeating this over and over and over. And if you read the first couple of books, they sound like they were written, the first 2 chapters of the Quran, they sound like they were written by the descendants of St. Paul. They sound like they were written by carefree Christians of the late Roman period. They're literally hippie books. After that, it becomes a lot more conservative. and it's all about the rules and regulations, and it's a religion of peace mixed with a religion of war. But people are black and white, so they say it's one or the other. It's actually both, and Muslims will admit that. They must, because that's what it says in there. There you go. What do you think? I mean, yeah. J Lord. Hey, J Lord. Hey, J Lord says, hey, J Lord. He says, my dad was a cope, and he was, and thanks very much, by the way, you're very generous. He was a cope and was loyal to the community. We're the redheads in Australia. All the copes I know are as well. What do you mean, copes? Pope? Do you mean Pope? Cope. No, cop. He was a cop. He was loyal to the community. We're the redheads in Australia. All cops I know are as well. Yeah, I know some cops too, and they're actually very friendly. So I wonder why, and they're friends, and I wonder why the media is lately showing quite a few bad ones, which is a bit strange, you know. Like, where the hell they come from, you know? Like, is this new, you know? Or maybe they're just stressed because they were all locked up or something, you know? Yeah. Nice. Now, someone had a question up there, and if you write a paragraph, I might as well read. Culprit says, I think it was the guy who made a video about the carry-on glyphs. Steve Strong, who had the rings, he showed them in a video. Apparently, they were made out of the same stuff found in India. Yeah. What do you mean, like orichalcum or something like that? All the rings were made of orichalcum, and you know. So Steve Strong is this Aussie researcher. He's part Aboriginal, and he tells them, like, at his conferences, online conferences, he tells amazing things. Like, he talks about, it's just incredible. He said, like, he met this Aboriginal, and the Aboriginal, like, he was at this ceremony, and the Aboriginal told him, follow the bird to get to the sacred rock. And he said, where's the bird? And there's the bird, the shadow. And so he chased after a shadow, which was going exactly he ran after it, going exactly 15 kilometers for about 15 minutes. And later he realized, what the hell was I following? And he realized there was no bird in the sky, just a magical shadow. And so the Aborigines, they're able to tap into this spirit magic. So it's like they have something in their brain that we just actually don't have in our brain. So in some respects, their brains are bigger than ours. Isn't that weird? What am I talking about? Anyway, Mr. 8886 says there was a report that the first mosques pointed to Petra and much later to Mecca. Yeah, so guys, check out a video. There is a guy actually living in Saudi Arabia. He's an American guy. He's a fat old bloke with a beard. And he says, I think he's a Muslim, I'm not sure. And he says what he did one day was he decided to analyze the first mosques around the world. And he found they all point to Petra, which was Becca. It was called Becca in the early Quran. And they changed it to Mecca. So if you go to, let's say, Becca, which is Petra, which is basically where I think it's where Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was filmed at the end, where that tomb with the Grail Knight was. I'm sure you all must have seen it, you know. There's a beautiful cave with pictures on the walls. And he says, well, that's the cave of Muhammad. If you go to the cave of Muhammad in Saudi Arabia, in Mecca, near Mecca, it's in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, with nothing in there. Geographically, Mecca doesn't fit at all, but Becca does. So he came up with this theory, and it's just absolutely incredible. And it makes sense. All of the early mosques, even the one in China, it actually points to Petra. And Petra is a beautiful place that you would write about as a kind of paradise. Mecca, no. The climate would have to have been so different. It's beyond imagination. Like, you know. Anyway, what do you think? Yeah. Son loves Indiana Jones, 4 years old. Oh, good to know. Yeah, me too. When I was like that age, and I thought, wow, this is the best thing. Like in the 90s or the 80s, I was thinking these Indiana Jones movies are the best things ever, you know. I used to wait so long for them to put Raiders of the Lost Ark on TV just to be able to see it, because, you know, we didn't have a VCR, and just to be able to see that movie, you know, because they only show, you know, what TV's like. They only show no new movies, and they don't show brilliant old movies, or they don't show the brilliant Elliot Ness series from the 50s that my dad always talked about, but we never got to watch it because they only show new stuff, and the new stuff at the moment is the worst garbage in history that's ever been on television. They may as well not show it at all, you know? They may as well not show it at all. Yeah. Unbelievable. Woo! Yeah, so, Amanda B says, oh man, good movie. Davey says, what if the Rickhat structure of Mauritania is the origin of Atlantis? Ha, wacky theory, but it kind of fits. But it doesn't fit, Davey. It doesn't fit at all. I'll tell you why it doesn't fit. Because Atlantis sunk, the sea level went up, and here it is on top of a mountain. It doesn't fit at all. Luna Sparkle says the composite decking of burned out cave paintings. Isaac Mark says, I bet the elongated redheads had a mental connection more to the spirit world, maybe your subconscious. I think you're correct. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, another thing Steve Strong mentioned, I don't know if I should talk about his material, but he spread it so we can spread it. He said something like his wife was dying of cancer, and she was almost dead, and there was a bird in the window, and the bird sang a song. And so he rang up his, then this Aboriginal elder rang him up, and they talked about this, and the Aboriginal elder said, well, was the bird still, or was it moving? And he said it was still. And the elder said, oh, that means she'll live. So contrary to what the doctors were saying, that she was about to die, the Aboriginal guy said, oh, she'll live. Simple as that, right? The bird, the woman, the triple goddess, the great goddess. You see the three ladies. And a month later, she was back almost. She was getting back to normal, and she's normal. Apparently, I think she's normal now. So this is not a superstition. This is obviously a kind of knowledge. Yeah. Asehoyu says the Arabian Peninsula is Atlantis. Ella Smith says I haven't watched TV in years. Yeah, exactly. I watch TV, but only like old episodes of Columbo or movies, yeah, or old movies from the 50s or film noir. Isn't film noir the best thing in history? Like the best movies in history, like I tell you what, film noir is 10 out of 10. Wow. Yeah. Hey, J Lord. Yeah. So J Lord says, were the redheads in Australia? Did they build the Gympie Pyramid? They sound like elves in Lord of the Rings. Were there other Ice Age civilizations? Yeah. I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if it's going to put people off, but I see that there's two ancient races, at least among the Europeans. And you want to talk Lord of the Rings? Giants versus elves, or giants versus dwarves. The dwarves, you could call them liberals, and the giants, the bigger people, you could call them conservatives. And science has found that the bigger people are more likely to be conservatives. So your question was, they sound like elves in Lord of the Rings. Were there other Ice Age civilizations? You know what? It was a Lord of the Rings world, even only 800 years ago. If you look at the Chronicle of Matthew Paris, it's just like a fantasy. He's drawing dragons. He's drawing ships of his day in a harbour, and he draws a Viking ship docked in a harbour next to some more modern-looking ships, which are also medieval ships. It's just incredible, and and the way he writes, it looks like Lord of the Rings, and he talks about supernatural things that have happened. Oh, it's the best. It's literally the best. It's the best book ever. But it's you can't even buy it. Maybe you can buy it. You can maybe buy it in English, but no one would read it. But it's so entertaining. Anyway. Yeah. So are they elves? Are they? They're sort of a bit elvish, I would say. They have some elf characteristics and qualities. You look at their fashions and their shoes. Look at the shoes of the Scythians. They look unbelievable, studded with jewellery. They're like elves. Yeah, you're right. Look at ancient Ireland, the home of redhead people, along with ancient UK. They're literally the home of hobbits. I would compare UK to like Hobbitland in Lord of the Rings, because it's like the Shire. It's just a nice place. The people are exceptionally friendly, more so than on the continent. Continental people are not English people. They're not gonna bump in. They're not gonna not bump into you and then apologise like the English people do. They're gonna bump into you and keep walking. You know what I mean? They'll say, You know, it's different there. You know, yeah, yeah. So KUS says pyramids are chemical reactors. Alchem. Yeah. Fast Eddie says the glyphs always come after the structures are built, never at the same time. The building builders don't write on their creations. You're quite right. And this is evidence, I suppose, that the pyramids of Egypt are the same megalithic civilization as, say, the walls of the Inca world. Because why do you have later shoddy-built pyramids full of writing, and then earlier pyramids which lacked writing, just the same as megalithic structures all around the world lack writing? So we have the ancient redhead worldwide civilization lacking writing wherever you go, all around the planet. And then you have the later pure Egyptians. They see what their ancestors built, and they say, "Oh, I'll have one of those. Build it for me, slave." And the slave gets his mud bricks out. He builds it, puts the writing and the crappy magic spells which don't do anything, and then it falls apart after a few hundred years because it's just made of mud, right? And it's not even made properly. And how can and how do the Egyptologists say there was never an invasion of Egypt? They say there was never an invasion of Egypt because they find no weapons. But now in the modern world, we see people can freely migrate wherever the hell they choose. They just have to hop on a boat. Don't need any weapons for that. You're not allowed to stop them. So the archaeology theories are actually based on very garbage assumptions. Don't you think? What do you think? Anyway, yeah. So, Ella Smith says, I must be a descendant of the giants then. King Leopold says, but it's more complicated than that. For example, there are also, we're mixed. The giants are actually mixed with the dwarves. So it's like even in families, people are fighting over politics. I think these are two different races fighting. And one person has a bit more of the giant genetics, one person has a bit more of the elf or dwarf genetics. And so, but they're still fighting. The redheads come from the same place, the UK, I mean, or the Joggerland area. It's strange. And they're clearly different peoples. The redheads are clearly, they're more Asiatic. They have Asiatic eyes. They often have the Mongoloid type eyes, even though they've got red hair. And they're more Eastern European in their behaviours and attitudes and appearance. But then again, Ireland has redheads as well. I mean, what can you do? I don't know. Yeah, Magic Magnets Cumbria says, keep up the good work, Chucky buddy. Pilorable says, Charlemagne seems to be depicted as a magician by Albrecht Dürer, also appears giantish. Was he a tall guy? I guess he was. Todd doesn't like ancient architecture. You know what? Ancient Architect really likes my channel. He said, he told me he watches every video. So, you know, with flattery like that, he's a pretty good guy. Oh, whatever. Anyway, so Bucket Dog says, we're like the pugs and Shih Tzus descended from wolves. You're right. You're exactly right. We're the, you know what? We've domesticated ourselves. You're so correct. You made me realize just then, we've domesticated ourselves. We've made ourselves weak. We're not like our ancestors. You look at our ancestors with their pointed heads, and we're not like them at all. We're totally different, aren't we? We're like something really different, really special. We're still special, though, but maybe in a bad way. Yeah. Culprit says, you just need to put a charge on some salt water with a membrane and mix it with sand and clay in a certain order. Top Track says, do you think the Chinese giant video is authentic? What Chinese giant video? Bucket Dog says, his channel is awesome, but yet his voice can grate. What, you mean you don't like his voice? Right, I can't do his voice, sorry. Yeah, he's from Leicester. I don't know how, I guess he speaks like a Leicester. Is that North? He's got like a northern accent. That's like, a bit like the Beatles, you know? He sounds a bit like the Beatles, doesn't he? Like, or does he? I don't know, I can't remember. Anyway. Yeah. But he makes sure to choose, because he's relying on the for an income, he may sort of choose what will be the most popular video. Fine, whatever, that's fine, I was kind of relying on this for an income, but it's deteriorated. Ever since the American election, YouTube has changed and they don't allow hardly any viewers. You see, Megalithomania, he's got like double my subscribers, but he's still getting the same number of viewers that I'm getting. I mean, there's a block. There's clearly a block happening, and there's some suppression going on because they just don't want, because they know that certain people who are thinking freely have certain political opinions that they agree with or they don't agree with, and they think they know which is which, and they think they can, push a boundary in there or something, whatever, But it'll change, yeah. Oh, Leicester is Midlands. Oh, yeah, it's what is it, Northern Midlands? Yeah, so Midlands is like beautiful countryside, eh? It's like a nice part of England, yeah. Yeah. Buck Dog says, yep, definitely Northern, great guy though. Ella Smith says, Leicester is near me, which is definitely in the Midlands. So do you see there are so many of you from UK? And UK is currently the worldwide home of the redheads. Like I've said this many times. When I went to the National Portrait Gallery, which is next to that big Trafalgar Square phallus of Lord Wellington, every single famous person in British history is a redhead. And there isn't just redheads living in Britain. So the redheads have this special genius for politics, or the cherry blondes, they have this special genius for politics and for power. And they've been the elite literally since the time of the redhead giants. Isn't that amazing? And you guys, interested in archaeology as you are, there's so many of you from the UK. And the UK founded USA. So there's so many of you from USA as well. So the people who watch the channel, it's literally UK and USA. And this is the home of, I guess, redhead people, ruddy-head people. And I guess also, well, much of Europe, Northern Europe, all Northern Europe, the ruddy people, right? So actually, redhead peoples are archaeologists by nature. They like history. You go to UK, so you go to China, for example, at the moment, the redheads aren't around anymore. And they only want new buildings. If they see an old building, an old house, they'll say, boom, demolish it. It's rubbish. It's not stylish enough for me. But if you go to England, if someone demolishes an old house, there is the biggest outcry. It's like Hitler again, all over again. It's like World War II. There's a massive outcry. How dare they? Sacrilege, it's like worse than blasphemy to demolish an old house in Britain. So people literally living in medieval houses, and they must be fixing these up non-stop all their lives just to fix up an old medieval house. Unbelievable, you know what I mean? But they love history, so they do it, Yeah, like in China, they wouldn't keep fixing up and living in a house from the 1600s, or not Japan. They wouldn't do that. It's got to be new, It has to be new, or it's rubbish. We got a Chinese neighbor, and he said that there was a house that went for, over $1 million, and he said, an old house like that, like even obviously the land value, but he says an old house like that, Whereas an Aussie might look at it and say, well, it's so charming, it's got the charm, and they'll renovate it and they'll fix it up and they'll make it like, they'll try and, they'll fix it up, right? So there are differences, So among the redheads, there's an appreciation of history. And there's an appreciation of archaeology. Where do the archaeologists come from? UK, Germany, that's it. Anyway, what we're talking about, just blabbing about rubbish. So Asa Hoyu says, nocturnal predator, redhead's good for hunting the prey herd. Yeah, that's right. So Stan Gooch's ideas, he said the Neanderthal, which might have been a redhead, had huge eyes, so he's nocturnal. So he actually goes out at nighttime. And there are many humans who will sleep all day, probably us included sometimes, and they'll go out at nighttime and they'll say, I enjoy like nightlife. I like that too, just go out at nighttime, just cruise around, Who wants to cruise around in the daytime with all the traffic? When you could do it at nighttime, everyone's asleep, and it's so mysterious at nighttime. It's just, the nighttime is just amazing. It's beautiful. People love the nighttime, Why are people going out at midnight, staying out all night long if we're not nocturnal? Can you explain that to me? Yeah. So Ides March says, yes, I have Irish, Scottish ancestry, USA. Yeah. But it's funny with the USA that the Germanics and the Norwegians outbred the English people. So people, they forget about their English heritage, even though they have it, but they just concentrate on the fact that they're Germans or Scandinavians. There's so many Scandinavians, it's the home of blondes, the USA, for that reason, yeah. Hey, J Lord, how you doing? So J Lord says, The Terminal with Margot Robbie is a grand neo-noir film. She is an Aussie Aphrodite, Guinevere and Helen combined. I prefer Netflix to TV. What's The Terminal? Is this a neo-noir? I'm gonna check that out. The Terminal. Okay, The Terminal. Cool. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Oh yeah. Ellis Smith says, I'm moving to Northumberland the beginning of October, Viking country. Can't wait to explore. Yeah, that's the home of the castles. And there's a Saxon church there as well in Northumberland. And there's Northumberland is the home of the Vikings for sure. That's a Viking country. So you'll see lots of Vikings, I suppose, speaking with a Yorkshire accent. Is that correct? And that'll be cool for you. Yeah. Oh my God, I wish I was there to explore the amazing UK. Oh my God, yeah. Wow. So Joshua says, what if Mediterranean was Middle Earth descendants? Okay, so there's something. So we talked about the redhead, but there's something really qualitative said about the dark-haired people from the Mediterranean as well, because the dark-haired people, they have this building gene. They just build very good buildings, and I think even in World War II, the Grofas was criticizing Hitler. He was saying like in the Mediterranean, the Italians must be laughing at us and on all your silly archaeology exhibits, because look at their ancient civilization, ancient Rome, and look at ours. We don't have one. You know what I mean? So like. It's so there's something to be so also the dark-haired people, they have something about building and order, and you see it in China as well. The dark-haired people there, they have this order, the regimentation, everything has to be a certain way, it's got to be proper, they have that, as well. Yeah. What were we talking about? Talking too much eugenics and stuff. So Culprit says the split off into two groups, and the bigger one attacked the smaller one, but the smaller one won. Asahoyu says none redheads have to build like the Three Pigs. You mean in Germany? I don't know. I was like the Three Pigs. Gavin says hello and good evening, Charles. Hello, good evening, Gavin. Yardbloku. Phoenicians come from the lost tribe. I think Phoenicians are Germans, because why did you have that German king who was called Balomar? A proper Phoenician name. Why is Belfast named after Baal? I reckon the Phoenicians were Germans, and they mixed with the people in the Arabian Peninsula. They became a bit darker, and they had this pillar religion, which is actually from Central Asia. The pillar religion, guys, is literally from Central Asia. In ancient Poland, you saw that there was a pillar penis religion. We know that the Khazars, the people who became the Jewish people, were penis worshippers, literally. Amusing as it is, but not just them. Look at India, the Shiva Linga. Look at Ireland, the hill, the Tara Hill, again, a lingam. This was part of the Aryan cult, and it stretched from India all the way across to Ireland. And what were we talking about again? Maybe a bit too much of that. So, I mean, it's just incredible, yeah. So Jeremy says, not the Hyksos then. Can we talk about where the Rothschilds come from, kind of import law? So the red shields, where do they come from? So now I made a video saying the Jews actually come from Holy Roman Empire. I mean, I would have thought with so many German names, the Jewish people, their homeland was the Holy Roman Empire. Isn't it funny? I mean, isn't it funny? I would have thought they would be literally Germans. They're from Germany, and there are so many Jewish people. They got the blonde hair. They look like Germans. They got thin noses. They look like German, exactly like Germans. And they're not. They're Jewish. I mean, there's a huge link with Germany. They talk about the link between, like they said, Poland was a homeland of Jewish people, or Khazaria or whatever, because they took them in. But why are there so many living in the Holy Roman Empire? Was the Holy Roman Empire the New York City of the day, and they had to live there? They wanted to live there. Maybe it was. And also, the Holy Roman Empire was always very fragmented, and you could butter up your local lord and achieve a good position if you wanted to do that, I suppose. I mean, if you were interested in doing that. Yeah, I don't know. Talking too much. Right. So Culprit says, because Rome came from Moses. But how do you figure that? I mean, you know what? The Romans are Easterners. If you want the people who behave most like the Romans today in Europe, I guess there would be Italians, but also Russians. They behave like Easterners. They behave almost, it's all about wealth, slaves, power, domination, kill all your enemies, be as brutal as you can, be as merciless as you can. Who cares? That's the Roman way. And what about that way is something we would associate with the West? Very little. They don't behave like Westerners. To me, they behave like ancient China or ancient or Ivan the Terrible or Turkey. They behave a lot like the Ottomans. They have this merciless streak to them, which you don't see in Western Europe today. So other Romans, and there's one Iranian who says the Romans are from Iran. The ancient Greeks are from Iran. That's why they brought over the same themes, the same iconography in the Archaic period, the Dark period, before 600 BC, the flying imagery and things like that. You see that in the Roman imagery, a little bit of it, or the Etruscan imagery. Etruscans look like Iranians. They got the black curly hair. They look like Easterners, basically, don't they? I mean, it's strange. So, I don't know, killing people in a Colosseum, it wouldn't happen in the West, but this was supposedly the home of Western civilization. And I put it to you, Western civilization comes from UK. And it doesn't come from Egypt. They say Western civilization, I'm going to make a video about this. Western civilization doesn't come from Egypt. Western civilization went into Egypt. That's how it got there. And then it died out in Egypt over time. It founded Egypt. It's from the English who founded Egypt. And we've proven that. You can't argue with the ancient Egyptian language, which is written in English. I mean, I made a video about this, and I was very happy to discover that. I mean, damn, they're from Doggerland, they're from Atlantis. Explains why the Egyptians were telling the Greeks who didn't know about Atlantis the story of Atlantis because it was their own heritage. They had to explain it to them, where they came from. Woo! Yar Bloco says, are the pyramids and obelisks the Roman Empire religious monuments to celebrate victories? Yeah, they were, they were war booty. Weren't they war booty, have an obelisk or something like that? Buckdog says, Charles, do you think the sinking of Rockall Bank is connected to the sinking of Doggerland? Could it be connected and form the original landmass of what was once Atlantis? Yeah, I think the whole that area was Atlantis, because Atlantis wasn't just, it doesn't have to be just the island. It can be the little colonies on the coast. I mean, it's just amazing, just amazing. Deplorable says the Iranians are the Jews that came to southern Israel. I think you're right. I think there is a similarity between the Jews and the Iranians. There is because both races have this sort of fierce resistance, don't they, about them? They have this. They're always resisting, in a positive way, of course, but they're always resisting, which is quite interesting. I mean, you look at Iran. I mean, they're not going to give up, and it's unbelievable. Like why? So Gitmo Holiday says, Charles, do you see on the top of the Göbekli Tepe mountains monuments, there are drill holes in the marble like inverted Lego? almost nobody considered expert is showing that or talking about. Really? You're saying there's Lego blocks on Göbekli Tepe? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Sounds like in the UK where there's drill holes in the top of some Yorkshire monuments, like a couple of Yorkshire phallus-like monuments, and there's actually drill holes in the top. And the reason for that is to make it sharp like a tooth, like a snake's tooth. And the archaeologists say, oh, it's natural because we don't know what it is. It's not natural. Gavin says, cheers, Biggie. I don't have Biggie. I've just joined. I'm reversing, Charles. Nice. Gavin says, 1 hour. Ha 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 ha. See you. Lef Kaffa says, are you going to begin tours in Melbourne again? I live in Melbourne. Oh, no, never again. No, it's, the tours, bloody hell. I was doing Ghost Tour. I was doing sometimes you get rude people. Sometimes people are, the problem with the tours is people just, I've seen it all. There's people like that. There's too many people sung like, I don't like it, you know, and there's so much repetition. But I was telling, like, you know, the most entertaining stories I could find in old books about history. But yeah, there's so much repetition in doing tours. I gotta say, like, you know, it's like you're on autopilot. But every time you do it, it gets better and better and better, and you condense. You see what makes people laugh. You see what makes people smile. And you see what doesn't, you cut out what doesn't. Even after doing it 100 times, you'll do it better than after you've done it 90 times, you know? Yeah, I did architecture tours. I did, but it's a shame Melbourne's destroyed so much architecture. There's still so much left. On Collins Street, we have a bank that has an enormous amount of gold leaf inside it. You know, you can go inside. You just walk inside and you see it's like a Byzantine church cathedral. It's like gold leaf everywhere. Anyway, yeah. Woo. Bibigli Bobito Bo says, hi Charles, what about Bonito? Bonito, I'm from Queenscliff, have a metal detector. Hey, let's meet up. Hey, are you the person who said they were going to look for treasure and then they never got back to me? Is that you? And they were going to get all this equipment and find it. And I thought, well, I mean, you know, it might not have been found. It might have been found in Peru in the 1940s. I found an article saying it was found in Peru. So there was a pirate. He was chased into Port Phillip Bay in the 1800s. And, oh, that's you! You're the one. Did you find anything? So, there was an article, you should know, in the 1940s, and they said they found the chalice in Peru, or it was supposedly in Peru. So it's going to be a hard task to find that. But, you know, let's go looking. Yeah, that'd be awesome, you know. Like, you should, you know, yeah, let's do it. If you want to do it, let's do it. But because of that article, it's going to be hard. But anyway, that was the most exciting thing. Queenscliff has lots of caves. And it has, so what happened was this. There was this pirate chased into Port Phillip Bay. He may have buried the treasure there. The cabin boy became an old wreck on the beach and said to him, and was living there for the rest of his life. And he was maybe drinking alcohol from a kerosene bottle. And he was called Kerosene Jack. And he was always looking for the treasure. And whenever someone asked him about the treasure, he hushed up. He was very quiet. And yeah, I mean, and people have, I reckon people have dug the hell up out of that place. But if they haven't found it, they're looking in the wrong place. And the caves have been blasted by dynamite. You know what? That's Australia's Oak Island. So the problem with it is, and that just puts me off, people have been there already, you know what I mean? Like, so Bippity Boo, you have a good name. Rumours in my town that it's still there. There's a statue covered in diamonds, apparently. I have an idea where let's go. Yeah, it'd be cool. Let's go. I'll drive over. We'll have a beer and then we'll go. We'll get some Dutch courage from the grog. I'll buy you one and we'll go to your place to your spot and find it. X marks the spot if you want. Just contact me and we'll do it. So Fast Eddie says, I have psychic powers. Ask me anything you want about the treasure. Hey, go for it. Go for it. Yeah. So Bippity Boot, say to Fast Eddie, I think the treasure is located under the pub in the old town, about 3 meters from the fence, and then Fast Eddie will tell you if that's true or not. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so Culprit says, what about the rose quartz temple at the pyramids that has the baby bath where they gave birth to the first humans? Scott Ferguson says LiDAR or drones. Oliver McKinley says, you should start smoking a pipe, Charles. I love my pipes and a plethora of different tobaccos to choose from. It goes great with deep contemplation. Scott Ferguson says 3K. Isaac March says, Graham Hancock calls them cup holes. To me, they look like architectural uses. Jevil says, we love your grandma's house. Who's me? Well, you know what? It's easier to decorate with old stuff. This is like a mid-century modern era. So you decorate it the style of the house, right? I mean, so if I had a new house, I would decorate it in the new style, the new minimalism. But mid-century modern is also a kind of minimalism. Do you see how empty this place is? Baroque is a kind of minimalism. If I had Baroque furniture, I'd make it Baroque. Totally, I'd have like a Baroque table right there. You know what I mean? Why not? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yar Bloco says, Charles, any thoughts on autistic ape theory? Aquatic ape theory sounds plausible to me. Yeah, it's totally plausible. So here's the thing. So a naked woman is a sea creature. I mean, the softness, the mathematical curves, a sea creature. And we're from a chimp. Does that make any sense to you whatsoever? It shows that the science is so backward that what they're doing is they take the DNA and they say we're 99% chimp. But their picture of DNA is not the whole picture. They've taken a photo of the scaffolding. What they should have done is take a photo of the architectural plans. They say the scaffolding is similar. But they should look at the architectural plans and see that we're actually interior. We're a pig. Or we're some kind of pig monkey. We're a pig that's had its limbs dilated longitudinally, mathematically. I mean, don't you think? I mean, like wow. Yeah. But yeah, bippity boobity. If we find it, I'll come with you and you can have it. You can have the treasure, but I'll help you dig. Why not? That'd be cool. That'd be cool as yeah. Like wow. Yeah, a bit of Goonies there. Yeah. So another dork says, "Hi, I'm from Leicester." Hey, ancient architecture, are you? I'm just kidding. Another dork. I was just wondering if you had any book recommendation about gods and goddesses of ancient Britain. Yes. One second. Yeah, I'll bring it. 1 second. It's somewhere. I just can't find it, guys. Sorry, guys, I can't find it. It's somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Yeah, it's so it's called the Gods and Goddesses of Ancient England. So just search for that and read that book, and you'll find out all about the Lord of the Rings. You'll find out everything about Tolkien. You'll see the Lord of the Rings is basically the archetype for Sauron. The Lord of the Rings is Wayland. You'll explore all that. It's a very good book. I forget who the author is, though, unfortunately. Okay, he's hilarious. Yeah. So guys, it's kind of lonely here. I'm stuck here. Put on the weights. Look at this. It's ridiculous. I'm, too much, too fat. But yeah, what can you do? You know, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is, guys. Just the way it is. You know, stuck here at home at night time and can't go anywhere, you know, or see anything, do anything, or whatever. Just unbelievable. Just silly. Yeah. Right. Okay. So guys, what, you know, do you guys have any views on Atlantis yourself? Like, what do you think of the theory that we've put forth on our channel that it's say it's UK area, Doggerland? It must be. It can't be too far away from Egypt. People say Caribbean. Why would you cross the Atlantic if you were escaping a sunken island in the Caribbean? You could on the trade wind, but why wouldn't you just start up in America? Or they say that the Mayan pyramids and the Atlantic and the Egyptian pyramids both come out of the Atlantic, right? I guess that's, yeah. Interesting. I guess that means ancient UK had pyramids, don't you think? There must be pyramids in ancient UK, and they've been destroyed. Why not? Ancient Italy had pyramids. The Etruscans built them, and they've been destroyed. You know, Porsena's tomb was a massive pyramid, and it was absolutely obliterated. It was destroyed. Yeah. So Buckdog says, could Göbekli Tepe have been created in relation to the proposed landing spot of Noah's Ark and the rebirth of civilizations after the waters subsided? Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Thought Addiction says, how's the projects in the garage going? I haven't done that for a while because it's hard to go to Bunnings, you know, and I've ordered some screws and stuff, and I have to put up some shelves, and they're in the way. That's why I haven't done much in there. Whatever, you know. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so, Derp Deep says, Free Victoria. Oh, I wish it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Isaac Mark says, I think it's Antarctica. Johan Zari says, blue-blooded people have a copper-based blood while we have iron-based ones. Do royalties have them? Yeah, because royalties are redheads who have light skin, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Asahoyu says, ape to humans, it's brain evolution. Was the protein source seashells, aquatic ape, or eggs? Coastal or forest ape? It was coast because we love the beach. Well, we love the beach and we love the forest, don't we? Like, where do you go? Do you go to the beach or the forest? If you want to have a party, both. I guess both. But beach is definitely our ancient home. But I guess a cold beach, because a hot beach will just get sunburnt, right? Matthew Forrest says aliens are real. Reinhard von Horst says, what form of communication was used in Atlantis? Hieroglyphs. Oh, I've got the Atlantis writing. I found it. It seems to be I found the Atlantis writing on a pot, and I'm going to reveal this in a video. And basically, it appears to me to be an ancestor of both the linear scripts of ancient Greece, pre-Greece, and also an ancestor of the Egyptian hieroglyphs, just as the writing of Central Europe is also an ancestor of the Egyptian hieroglyph. They both have a life hieroglyph, which is a tree with an egg on top. And that's life. And this Atlantis writing will be revealed in a forthcoming video so we can see what their script was. And we'll see if the script pops up anywhere else. It's a unique alphabet. It's an alphabet I haven't seen before. I saw it on Twitter, and someone said, and someone made a comment, and they said, that's just scrappy. I said, this is absolutely incredible. And someone said, no, it's not. It's just scrappy writing on an earlier artifact. It looks like scrappy, you know, it's a bit dodgy. But he didn't appreciate the fact that it's a totally unique alphabet. I've never seen this alphabet before, and I know a lot about the alphabets of the ancient world. This is not a known alphabet. It's in a new alphabet. There are lots of alphabets around Europe that you only see on a few artifacts, maybe hundreds. And you only see them in regional museums, small museums, sometimes national museums because they're an old artifact with writing on them. And invariably, the writing is a form of the linear scripts of Greece. And they're a staff of lines based on the Ogham or based on those linear scripts. And this writing, I see traces of both the linear scripts, it's from Sweden, as well as the hieroglyphs. Anyway. Yarabloku says, but I think we have Neanderthal genes, as well as Denisovian, and probably all other hominids that coexisted. Matthew Forrest says, it's a rabbit hole, but man, is there a lot of evidence out there in 2020? Yeah, and by the way, 2020 is 2012. You notice everything's ending. It's sort of the end of a cycle. I call it the Albiomessa cycle. It's a 1,000-year cycle of Jupiter-Saturn conjugation. So check out the darts video to see what a Jupiter-Saturn conjugation is. But they measured time this way in the ancient world, and they measured the collapse and fall of kingdoms, and also that astrology is happening in 2020 as well. You see what's happened. 2020 is the end of time according to the Mayan calendar. It's been found out by Maurice Chatelain that it's the end of time. He said this back in the 70s. It's not 2012. It's 2020. So it's happening this year. So you see how everything's just falling apart, And in the next few years, revolutions don't happen all at once. In the next few years, there'll be more revolutions which are caused by the revolutions this year, and then there'll be epic revolutions. We'll see what happens, eh? Should be fun. Yeah. Reinhard von Hindenburg says, anyone who says we are descended from apes is wrong. I prefer to think we ascended from apes. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. We ascended from apes and other creatures through viral vector means. And it's as Fred Hoyle says, the virus seems to be the vector for evolution. The whole point of a virus in the first place is to cause organisms to swap DNA to actually cause evolution to happen. Yeah. So we have other creatures. Manon says, what's up? Hey, Manon. Yeah. Matthew Forrest says, we share DNA with Neanderthal, but we do with fruit flies. Manon says, question, why are there so many different languages in the world? Isn't that interesting? Why are there so many different languages? Languages form really easily. Even in a family group. So I've been reading a book by a guy called Fussell about class. And I've also been looking on the internet about behaviors of old money. And old money are very interesting because old money will actually drive an old car because they don't need to have a new car. They're already rich. They don't need the new car. They don't need to look rich. They don't care. They don't need to look rich to their friends. Their friends know they are rich. In fact, they're trying to look poor. They're trying to dress down. But they have nicknames in their families. And apparently, according to outsiders, you wouldn't know who was who unless you were part of the inner circle and you knew what all the nicknames were. So we're always changing everything, making new languages, making new words. It seems to be second nature for people to invent a new language, like literally all the time to invent a new language. Maybe that's why there's so many languages in the world. Yeah. Matthew says we're closer to chimps with one mutation of gene 2. Yarabloku says, could be, but where do you get the different blood types from? No one knows. But apparently it was a recent mutation, like 30,000 years ago. We have different blood types. I don't believe that. Or maybe. Maybe, that would be a response to disease. Take with the current virus, they say the A group doesn't respond as well as the other groups to the virus. So the evolution of blood types is, you always have to, if you're a Darwinian evolutionist, you always have to find out why, according to Darwin, you have to argue why, according to Darwin, a certain set of laws, a certain mutation is favorable. And it's favorable because it assists the survival of a species. And then we had Dawkins saying it assists the survival of the gene. Other evolutionists say it assists the survival of the individual. And they all have these different views, but it's actually Dawkins is most correct. It's the gene which wants to survive, but even more than the gene, the gene is not important, okay? What wants to survive is any DNA. Any DNA wants to survive to colonize a planet. They never mentioned that. So, Bogus Hype says, Charles, Corey Good says the aliens used virus to manipulate our genes. That was the von Daniken view as well. So he wrote a book about religion and the gods or something like that. And he actually said that, aliens do not need to have colonized any planet at all to spread likenesses of themselves. They merely had to mutate a gene to make things that looked like themselves, which are us. You know, I mean, the other reason why we are the ancient aliens is that we can build with our hands. So here's the problem with animals. They can't build things. A dolphin's so smart, yet it can't write down its thoughts. It can't build things, so it's not a god. To be a god, you have to have built the world, and you need tools to build, arms and legs. And we've got that. So we must be made in the images of God. So that's another explanation for the ancient aliens thing, I guess. Might not be ancient aliens. So Reinhard von Hindenburg says, languages, you discussed that in a vid ages ago, but the split of one culture where it was part of a plan by the devil, I think, and mankind was ascended across the earth to create chaos. Yeah, that was a C.S. Lewis. You know, C.S. Lewis, he actually wrote that. He actually said the devil took over and he believed this, the devil took over the earth and the gods are in the heaven. And that explains why everything that's on the earth is bad. Right. So it's a bit of black and white thinking, don't you reckon? I mean, I'm sure there are some good aspects also of. I'm sure there are some good aspects of there's some good aspects of the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like the whole of creation and all that, whatever. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Reinhardt says Yahui says, hey Charles, hey. Right. Buckdog says no, Eddie. Yahui says, Charles, I don't think there are any aliens visiting Earth. Me neither. You know what? I think they are. They're ghosts. They're high-energy electrical ghosts, and they look like aliens. If you give them more energy. If you give them less energy, they look like a ghost. Fast Eddie says, sounds like Monkey Magic episode. Madden says, how many different resets of human civilization have? From which reset do Egyptian pyramids come from? Ooh. Okay, so here's the thing. So, I'm going to find that book. Hey, 1 second, guys. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So this book here, guys, Uriel's Machine. That's the one that talks about the how to find a megalithic yard. For those people who have just tuned in, megalithic yard they have found for a trial and error is a 366-degree system. The length of time it takes the stars to move 1 degree across the sky in a 366-degree system, which was simplified to 360 degrees after some catastrophe or the civilization broke down. And it's to get 366 swings or something like that. And it's a 1 meter megalithic yard length. And that's why the megalithic yard was used by all these ancient civilizations that were aware of astronomy, and all the megalithic civilization built in archaeoastronomy. And the point of getting this book was, I forget, what was the point of getting the book? Yeah, it's an amazing book, isn't it? The point of getting the book was, why did I get this book? I can't remember. I'm drinking too much. How many resets did it have? That's right. So they found a professor who told them that in 3150 BC, which just happens to be when history starts in Egypt. A great asteroid or something smashed into the Mediterranean and caused a catastrophe. That is why Egyptian history, what we call the first dynasty, is not the first dynasty. It goes way back before that, and we know that. Look at the pottery. The pottery is amazing. It's better than it was in the Egyptian times. In the pre-Egyptian times, it's better. So we know there was a great civilization there in Egypt, and that earlier civilization possibly built the pyramids, and they were recycled. So that's what I got from that book. And then I confirmed that for myself that the Arya-Linda book is correct, because the Arya-Linda book, I looked at what date is given, and it's basically 3100 BC for like a flood or a catastrophe. And it says in that book, which was written in the Old Land, Atland, which is presumably the name of Doggerland after it sank, that all of Germany was burnt up in some conflagration, which of course would explain why there's no ancient civilizations in Germany. And Germany's all barbarians, I suppose, for the Romans. Although they still had 2,000 years to build things, I don't know, but it was a forest, but it was all burnt up. So everything resets all the time, literally. I mean, isn't it amazing? Yeah, okay. So, yeah. Yeah, so Lapis Philosophorum says, Lucifer is the good one. It's none devil. God was the main being, Anunnaki slave race. You know, the thing is, right, I don't want to say anything about religion, but according to the Oxford Dictionary of National Biography, the original god of mankind is the Joker god, and it goes back to 60,000 BC. Sorry, the Oxford Dictionary of World Mythology. And it goes back to 60,000 BC. I'm not quite sure how they know that. I'll have to look it up. But the Joker god is literally the god in the book of Job. And some people say Job is Khufu because he's the rich man who saved everything up. Then he's got all these misfortunes and things. And these misfortunes have been ascribed in Egyptian legend to Menkore. Menkore had the misfortunes and so forth, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's more. Okay. So Yalboko says Latin alphabet is Phoenician. No, but I found the origin of the Latin alphabet. It comes from Atlantean alphabet. I'll show you the Atlantean alphabet in a forthcoming video. Yalboko says Latin alphabet is basically Phoenician Hebrew alphabet reversed. Isn't that weird? When did we change from right to left reading and left to right, and why? Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I mean, it's like a mirror image. Yeah, it does kind of look like that, doesn't it? Yeah. Isn't that strange? I mean, isn't that a trifle odd? Isn't that a trifle odd? I mean, yeah, you know, it's better in this lounge room than the other one because the other one, the signal's not as good, so it's actually better here. But yeah, I mean, the Latin alphabet, no. The Roman Latin alphabet comes from the Atlantean alphabet, which will be revealed on this channel, and that became the Egyptian alphabet. If you look up the Egyptian alphabet, you actually see words that you see the Latin alphabet. For example, the R, that is a big nose. It's a face. It's a R. It's an R. It's a face. It's interesting. You see, like E is an ear of wheat doing that. So it's wheat. That's a letter E. So this M is a m or a n in Egyptian. I mean, it's all Latin alphabet. It's in ancient Egyptian, and that was the precursor. It's not from Phoenician. So all this rubbish about the Latin alphabet coming from Phoenician. No. It doesn't come from Phoenician. The Latin alphabet was always there. Phoenician is a version of the Latin alphabet, which was widespread owing to the Phoenician trading empire. I reckon they got it backwards. The Latin alphabet was there, is close to the alphabet of Atlantis. It comes from the alphabet of Atlantis. that made the Latin alphabet, and then thence the Egyptian alphabet from that. Yeah, something like that. But you'll see. I haven't showed you there, and I'll show you. Give us a sneak peek of the language. I'll show it to you in a video soon. I found the Atlantean alphabet. Easy. I'll tell you how. Because I found a Swedish artifact with an alphabet I have never before seen. Not only have I never before seen this alphabet, but it has very, very weird similarities with Greek, but a pre-Greek of the linear A and B form, and very weird similarities with ancient Egyptian, and very weird similarities with Latin letters. So I thought to myself, this is Piltdown. No, this is the missing link of Latin, Egyptian, Greek. And where does it come from? It must come from Doggerland. I'll show it to you in a video or two. I'm sure it's the Atlantean alphabet. Like, finally, we got an alphabet from Doggerland. Yes! Yeah. So Derek says, I heard that Latin wasn't used generally. They tended to use Greek in conversation as a lingua franca. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like, why would the Romans be so obsessed with Greek? I don't know. And then they just abandoned Latin. So the East Roman Empire they were Romans who spoke Greek. I mean, why would they do that? I mean, I don't know why they would do that. Why would you call yourself a Roman if you weren't? They were the East Roman Empire was more of almost a successor to the Hellenistic empires. You know, a bit Hellenistic and a bit Latin, but so different entirely from the earlier Roman Empire. But many of the same institutions survived, like a Senate, and much of the armor survived, and, yeah. So you're saying that Latin wasn't used generally, they tended to use Greek. Yeah, like why did Hadrian speak in Greek? I don't know. It's like the French, it's like the Russians speaking French. You know why? So the Russians, they're obsessed with Baroque, which is of course French, and then they start speaking French. Yeah. Anyway, so the Swedish guy says, "Okay, I'll show it to you. It's from a Swedish tomb. You can look it up, but I don't know the name. But you can look up Swedish tomb artifact writing. Maybe you'll find it. It's on my Twitter, but way back. Yeah." Yeah, so Throttle Addiction says, he's talking to Manan. So Yarl Bloko says, in my opinion, the elongated skulls are another hominid, probably a smarter one, since they were the authority of their societies, it seems. Maybe survivors from a reset cataclysm. Interesting. Have you read the Oriel? Yeah, I read it, and I was amazed by it, because there's so much in it that they wouldn't know. So they wouldn't have known when... So what happens is the Oriel book dates the flood to the first intermediate period of Egypt. So why would they have known there was a Dark Ages there if it wasn't from ancient chronicles and manuscripts? I think someone in the 18th century, 19th century found an old manuscript which was copied from a collection of chronicles. They then, and that chronicle became the Oriel book. Just because a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy doesn't mean it's a forgery. There's lots of interesting things in there, like seafaring, naval things, like tidbits of knowledge that you wouldn't really care about unless you knew them, unless you learned them. For example, it says the most northerly city of the Atlantic is Marseille. Now, the Mediterranean is Marseille. Now, why would you even care about that if you weren't a mariner? And it's got very interesting nautical information in there. It's like, it was made by seafarers. It's purported to be made by seafarers who came from Atlantis, and it's like a Dutch version of this. It's genuine. I think it's real. It's a real piece of ancient history, but not directly from ancient history. It's a secondary source. It's scrambled. But there's so much real information there. They wouldn't have known when the first intermediate period was, when it was written. When was it written? Like 1700s or so? We didn't know the chronology of Egyptian history, that earlier intermediate period, that earlier Dark Ages. We didn't know that until the 20th century. And they got the date right. And that, to me, is the proof that it's based on ancient chronicles, because they would have written down when this catastrophe would have happened, and they would have called it the flood to be consistent with what the Bible is saying, because they were monks, right? Yeah. Anything? So Lapis Philosophorum says, Roman, they found the languages in the ruins they looted, writings on the wall, like the Planet of Apes. Yeah. Three-edged sword. So happy you read it. It also has a wild cosmology understanding, and it looks to blow the entire history of Christian origins completely on its head. It's really well. Could you elaborate on that? Like, feel free to write a paragraph or so, and I'll read it out. If it's got something new about Christianity, I'd love to hear it. Your take on that. Lapis Philosophorum, the flood survivors, Charles. The ships created the Malta railways in the fresh mud for X. Blah blah says the book is called The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. Oh yeah, about the mushrooms. Yeah, that's right. Saying that Christianity evolved from I see. Okay, Christianity evolved from the mushroom. Reinhard says ancient history. Don't forget the opening words to Star Wars movies. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, it's like the Indian Mahabharata, isn't it? Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah. So what else, guys? I mean, like, I'm gonna fill this up. Come with me. Let's go. So, what was I? I don't know. So, I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. Some of the ancient history. There's so much ancient history going on. Just unbelievable, remarkable, unbelievable, strange, bizarre. Ancient. That's what ancient history is. It's just weird. Right. So let's hope the internet works here. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll look at this book I got. Monuments in Cedar, about totem poles. So I'm hoping to read that. Is the signal still good? I hope it's still okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, I got some drinks and stuff over there. So I'm just going to fill up this a little bit. But so go on and tell me more. Let me know. All about it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yeah. Right. So, right. Yeah. Hey, Jeremy. How you doing? Pass that bottle. You want some rum? It's like, you know what? It's sort of pineapple flavor. So I'm in a pirate mood. So like, it's very strange. It's got like pineapple flavor, and they put pineapple in it for some reason. Like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? Yeah, it says it's the best tasting spliced blend infused with Jamaican vanilla, ginger, and spices left to rest in oak barrels, creating a smooth tasting spiced cane spirit. For this special edition with added caramelized pineapple, in celebration of traditional hospitality and friendship in the Caribbean. Do I recommend it? Absolutely not. No, don't buy that one. It's no good. But I have to drink it because I bought it. Yeah. So what we're saying? Yeah. Amorandum says, what about alien intervention in our DNA? It's a possibility, isn't it? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's a possibility. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Well, that's strong with that water in it. Yeah, let's put water in it. Yeah. Evan says one of my ancestors was a pirate. Evan Strong, is that you? One of my ancestors was a pirate. Nice. I didn't know. That's amazing. Yeah. Manan, were the humans from previous resets taller than us, and did they become the gods of many civilizations? Oh, it's up to you, mate. That is yeah, basically. I mean, yes, but we can never prove it. So someone said, you never prove anything on your channel, Charles. You never prove nothing. And my reply to that is, neither do the archaeologists. Everything could be a forgery. Everything they dig up could be a forgery, and we'll never really know unless we have a time machine. Could you convict someone of murder based on something you dig up from the ground that's 2,000 years old? You can't. That's not proof. Nothing in archaeology is proof. But with a balance of probabilities, we can sort of decide what is what. Someone says this 80 proof. I don't even know what proof is. What's it? 80%, isn't it? That's what 80 proof means, right? 37%. They don't write proof here. They just write percent. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah, rightio. So, So, Monaco says that's for girl drinks. It is for girl drinks. It's got a pine. Yeah, it's for girl. Sorry. I don't put pineapple or corn or pizza in my rum. Really, Buckeye? Really? Okay. Gitmo Holiday says you need some plants in that room. Maybe some hemp. I don't have plants. I mean, I have plants, man. Yeah. Plants. Yeah, I got plants. I got plants and plants. But this room is a mess. It's going to be like, I'll take out all the office stuff. It's going to be like a Victorian era parlor. And all the office stuff will go into a newly built thing in the backyard. And then another one and then, yeah, like an office. Yeah, so it can be a proper damn room. Yeah. Someone says he likes alcohol in his coffee. Do you now? That's a good idea. I didn't think of that. Then it would really get to your head. You wouldn't be able to sleep. Like a coffee martini, they're quite popular here. Someone says, my cheeks are turning rosy. Manon says, in every religion, there is mention of another race of reptilian humanoids. What were they? Did they evolve from... No, Manon, no. The reptilian humanoids, in ancient times, the Earth Mother was a snake, was a bird, and it was a triple deity, a trinity. So, therefore, the snake is venerated in ancient times. It doesn't mean it's a reptile. It means they thought the first animal was a snake because it presumably looks like a sperm, or it's very primitive looking. It's like a person who hasn't grown arms and legs yet. So, therefore, they in their conception of evolution, which I think evolution must go back to, the idea of evolution must go back to ancient times. They simply assumed that this was the most primitive creature and the first creature. The snake was the holy creature. So there's so much snake symbolism in Stonehenge and Avebury and et cetera, which they don't never talk about, but they must to understand it. And that's why. That is the whole thing behind these ancient reptilians, you see. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think, but you're allowed to think something different. Buckdog says, do you think the moon could have formed from Earth getting hit so hard that debris were flung into the atmosphere now? Maybe parts even raining down in the years following, causing havoc. Well, maybe, but we had a supercomputer up here to work that one out. Amanda, how's your lab coming along? Still working on the Philosopher's Stone? I've hardly done any experiments. The only thing I've done is the Terra Preta, but you'll see the results of how to make super soil in your backyard, so you too can grow giant beanstalk. I'll show you the results. So hopefully they're good results. Hopefully the seeds aren't too old. They're 5-year-old seeds. Dan, hey Dan, when are you going to travel to these ancient sites and do some on-the-site exploration? You know, I'd love to do like Megalithomania and do the sites of Europe. I really want to go to those megalithic sites of Europe, maybe even Egypt, and see the megalithic stuff. And I'll actually look at the cross-section of the stones, because none of these guys take all the trouble to go there. They're not looking at the cross-sections of the stones, are they? You know, they should be looking at the cross-sections of the stones and yeah, seeing how it works. But they don't really do that, do they? I mean, yeah, oh well. Yeah. Whoa! I have to put some water in this. Yeah. So keep writing questions, you know. Yeah, so oh yeah. Right, yeah, right. So what were we saying? Yeah, I'm drinking pirate style, you know. So I found out grog means, everyone says they're drinking grog, but grog actually means rum with a lot of water in it. That's grog. And I didn't know that. I don't think anyone knows that. I don't think they know this at the bar. I mean, this is remarkable.
So anyway, guys, no, I'm not wasted. I'm all right. No, I don't really get that drunk. That's fine. So what else have we got here? So Dan says why medical terms, names of species of animals, laws, etc., written in Latin if Latin is a dead language. Oh, the Latin might be a dead language, unless you're a lawyer or a doctor who they speak in Latin, or a botanist. But the Roman Empire never collapsed. And that's what they teach in history at university. The Roman Empire never collapsed. We're still living in the Roman world. You look at the United States, it's like ancient Rome with their eagles on sticks. I mean, it's interesting. Oh, with a flag, of course, but I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Culprit says there's a place at the Yuyangs where there is this, but carved out on a high rock, and I can't imagine why. What is? What is? So Yuyangs are a beautiful, mysterious place, very strange, very odd, yeah. Buckdog says, chug, 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 chug. George says, what do you mean cross-section of the stones? Oh, you know, just to have a look where it's broken, you can see the cross-section. So therefore you can see whether it's artificial or whether it's natural. You could just take a photo of the cross-section, you can have a look, and you can see what's going on. You know, that would be really interesting. Or even you can even like take these days you can take a portable microscope, you know, even hook it up to your phone and have a look at take photos of the molecules and not molecules, but the sand that makes up the stone, and you can see based on that as well. You know, maybe I'm sure the geologists are wrong, saying it's certain igneous rocks. Bogus says, Charles, did you ever cover Hermes Trismegistus? Not really. Hermes Trismegistus is from a lost ancient civilization of pre-Egypt, and he was a king of pre-Egypt. And he seems to have invented what's known as white magic. White magic is you believe it and it will be done for you. Black magic is you need to do everything and then the demon will haunt you forever. It doesn't work as well. I think white magic might work a little bit better if it works. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So Culprit says this thing at the Yuyangs looks like a shelf dug into a big rock, like you would put something there. But what on earth would they put there? Woo! Fast Eddie says, we have an obelisk in my local park. Interesting. The Celtic Empire never collapsed also. Many Scots are still not wearing underpants. Really? Manon says, why are green eye color so rare? Is it a DNA strand from the pre-human reset? See, I don't know anyone who has green eyes. You know what I mean? Oh, it's a redhead thing, isn't it? It's a redhead thing, yeah. I guess it must be even more than rarer than redhead. It probably human reset. Imagine, see, we see these long skull people, right? Imagine what eye color they would have had. It would have been incredible. There are some people with very, very light blue eyes, like you see around Galway, Ireland, like some of the women there, they have actually platinum hair, natural platinum hair. I don't think you can call that blonde. And the eyes, very light blue. Does anyone know anyone with natural platinum hair? I think it's a very Irish thing, but you see some people in Sydney with that. Three-Edged Sword said, the book also has the trademarks of being the origins of nearly all Jesus origins and even some hints of proto-Buddhism. You're quite correct, and for this reason, scholars misdate the Hermetic literature, so-called, as a Christian invention, post-Christian invention, because why would it have Christian things in there? And you're saying it's actually a precursor to Christianity. And I agree with you. And the reason for that is you look at some of you look at the structure of the sentences. They're short little sentences in almost verse-like form in some books. It looks to me like it's been transcribed out of Egyptian hieroglyphs. The Book of Hermes Trismegistus is partly transcribed out of Egyptian hieroglyphs, and they just don't see this. You know what I mean? They don't see it. Yeah. Oh, Jason Cherry says, I have green eyes. Nice. Nice. Beautiful. George says, got it. Finding out what they are made of would explain a lot. Monaco shows eye pictures. Jace Ventura says Hermes is Mercury. Mike says, what if the Knights Templar had formed relations with the Native Americans then when the English colonized America, the Mormons? Fast Eddie says, I has hazel. Yeah, I think most people have hazel or brown, yeah. So Raccoon says, are there any ley lines in Canada? Yes, look for north-south ley lines, you'll see them. You will surely see them from when the Earth was not in the Ice Age. I found new ley lines in Egypt. Anyone look for ley lines in Egypt? They're actually north-south ley lines running up and down Egypt, which is very interesting. Ancient cities linking together, just bizarre. And no one knows about them. George says, rarest people in the world have green eyes and red hair. Yeah, they are quite rare, aren't they? It's very, very recessive, very recessive. Jace says, I've met one or two girls with platinum hair. Indeed, yeah. And it's interesting, the ones with platinum hair, like the hair on these platinum women, it actually starts dark. And on many blonde women too, it actually comes out dark and then it turns blonde as it grows, which is very strange, isn't it? It's like, and I always think, like, did they dye their hair? And is it, you know, but no, it just comes out dark and then changes color, you know, yeah. I've got to go. See you, Reinhard Voss. Yeah, bye-bye. Yeah, got to go. Peace out, mate. Yeah. So Manan says, is the Pope and the people from the Vatican City aware of our real history? And is it why they are hiding artifacts and books in their basement? I suppose it is. You know what? I'll tell you why they hide the books in the basement. It's the same reason why Prince Andrew should never speak to the media again. The monarchy, like the Vatican, needs to have a mystery about it, or it will collapse. There needs to be pomp and ceremony. This is why there was so much pomp and ceremony in every royal court. It's to keep the people in line. There must be a divinely sanctioned aura of an aura of divine sanction. So no, you cannot look in our library. You cannot come here. You need a special Vatican passport to even go in there, or an invitation, special permission. And they show their Vatican passport at the airport. It's very rare. Ratzinger talked about that. Do you remember an interview? Like he said, when you show the Vatican passport at the airport, they don't know what it is, and then they realize, and then it's a bit of a job to convince them that actually you're a human being. So it's to give the era of divine monarchy to everything. Oh, thanks, Mike. Cheers. You're welcome. Thanks for watching. Yeah. Oh, you say it used to be called flaxen hair. Oh, that platinum blonde is flaxen hair. I didn't. It's so rare. Like, you just see it among Irish descendants. But in Galway, I saw it was common. It was actually kind of common. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's flaxen hair. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. So, any intersections in Canada? Maybe. So Canada doesn't have. Oh, the problem with Canada is you've got Ogopogo, and what else do you have? Not too much archaeology in Canada, unfortunately. That's a problem. Like because of the ice sheets and the cold weather. But there must be stone circles there. Maybe you'll find one in a forest or something. There must be ancient monuments. Buckdog says bad dye job. On the contrary, these are natural flaxen hair people, you know, and they're ignored as if they're categorized under blondes, but they're not blondes. They're different to blondes. They're about as temperamental as redheads, more temperamental than blondes. They're quite intelligent. Maybe the ancient giants were flaxen-haired. You know what? The ancient giants could have been flaxen-haired. And all the flaxen-haired people I've known have had big feet, like the ancient giant, like bigger than they need. So could they be based on the ancient giants? Could they have had flaxen hair, like you say? I didn't know flaxen. I'm gonna look that up. That's so good. Yeah. Ella says Melanesians are one of the non-European peoples, and the only dark-skinned group of people outside Australia known to have blonde hair with rare gene type. They must be descended from the ancient giants. Yeah, I think so. So Luna Sparkle says, I asked everyone in the room, what color do my eyes look like? Everyone said green. I put that down and they issued me another ID card saying they were blue. Maybe they're colorblind or something. Yes, Ratzinger was the Palpatine looking one, yes. Derek says, I heard that the Americans now have taken custody of the Vatican archives. That's interesting. I wonder what's in the Vatican archives. It's just what it is. It's another monastery, and the monasteries have books. So it's another monastery, but I don't know what's in there. It can't be that special. Maybe it's a bit of a myth. It's a bit of a blown. By the way, do you people like reading detective? I like reading detective and crime novels. That's a lot of fun. I like doing that. By the way, yeah. So, what else? So, Luna Sparkle says $59 American for that. Interesting. Manan says, why? Oh, and by the way, Manan, so your name is actually Man. So the thing about India is there's a lot of ancient names in there. It's full of names from the ancient world in India. It's full of religion from the ancient world as well. And your name, Manan, is the same name as the first king of Egypt, Min, or Man, the first man. Maybe he was the first king of men. It's so interesting. It's preserved that ancient information in your name. So he said, so why were the nomadic people able to conquer civilized people living in walled cities, the Turks, the Germans? Now, who would be ringing me at bloody who is ringing me at 10? Who is ringing? Yeah. Hello? I picked it up too late. Anyway, so that phone is from the 1950s. Anyway, right. What was I saying? It ain't me. Oh, good to know. Yeah, I know, it's good to go off, I know. Every time I picked it up, it's no one there. But I hadn't had that connected for like 10 years or 8 years. And then I thought, if I've got the old phones, I may as well connect them, right? But who's going to ring? What for? Bit of a backup or something, right? So Matthew Forrest says, Anna Manan says, my name means a person who thinks a lot or person with a big brain. Oh, that's cool. So man is the one with the brain as opposed to the woman. I didn't say that. I don't know who said that. Did you say it? Who said that? Someone in the room said that. I don't know. Blame them. So Matthew Forrest said, do you think the Bhagavad Gita was real and Oppenheimer got the tech from aliens? Oh, that's funny. I don't know about that one. But I know that the SS designed UFOs. They're SS heavy breathing bucket talk on the phone. Yeah, okay. George says, have you seen the work from channel name God Gave Lamster? God Gave Lamster. His stuff is extremely thought-provoking. Would like to get your opinion on his work. I don't know it. Sorry, mate. I don't know it, George. Manan says man mean brain and Anne means a lot. That's a very nice name. That's a good name. Three-Edged Sword says the Vatican archives are empty. More than likely, they would have moved their entire archives to the Arctic and Antarctic safe house. They now keep slaves and supercomputers underneath their unhallowed halls. S. Daniel, hey mate, says laughing out loud. Matthew Forrest, do you know about the Bhagavad Gita? Lynn Post says, have you been to the Serpent? I've made a video from the Serpent Mountain. Check it out. Jace Ventura says, Bhagavad is as real, if not more so, than the Bible. Yeah, I think so. Well, I didn't say anything. Were real, later developed into the German bells, later encountered by Admiral Byrd. 100% comatose says, no, Oppenheimer accepted that there might have been a nuclear conflict earlier. Ooh, brain a lot. So Mr. Daniel has suggested an English translation of Manan as brain a lot. That's a good one. Or you could call it Grosskopfer. No, that would mean swelled head. when there wasn't there a Grosser Tester, Latet. Grosser Tester was a scholar who also means big head, I guess. Big head is an English name, isn't it? Big head? It must be. English has the best names. Manan says, in Mahabharata, nukes were used. I am from India. I have been hearing the story since childhood. That's the thing. So when Eric von Daniken went to India, Eric von Daniken, ridiculed in the West, he was called a crazy criminal, and he took advantage of this in his book Return from the Stars. To actually in the intro, he said, I am writing this book from Landsberg prison, or something. And he let the reader assume that he had been imprisoned for writing Chariots of the Gods, basically. Although it was actually for borrowing money from the hotel owner in order to travel the world, which was very expensive to do in the 60s in order to write that book, and then presumably recoup the money with a bestseller, which he somehow did, unbelievably. Yeah, but he went to jail for a year or two or something like that. What were we talking about? But Eric von Daniken said, I've gone off on a tangent again. Bloody hell, what did I do? So Eric von Daniken actually said, maybe it's just my side at the end. So Eric von Daniken, he said, what did he say? Great head. Yeah, great head. A nuclear conflict. So that's right. So Eric von Daniken, he got a hero's reception in India, and he said what you said, Manan. He said, why is it in the West I'm persecuted for saying this, but every Indian knows the story and they learn it as a child? You see what I mean? Yeah, so the India, because this book needed to be preserved so that it would never happen again, maybe. So that's why they keep, it's become a holy book. So the reading the Mahabharata is holy as a result of this, because something has to be preserved, or for whatever reason. Yeah, isn't that great? So yeah, Oppenheimer compared it to what was in the ancient Indian text, didn't he? He said, he said that, yeah. So okay. So S. Daniel says, check out Suspicious Observers. S. Daniel also says, no nukes, micronova from the sun. So there is a very good long documentary from a guy who's come up with an idea of micro nukes. This guy seems to be some kind of engineer or something. And he says all of astronomy is wrong, all the ancient catastrophes are wrong. He says the idea that an asteroid contains enough energy to melt all the glaciers and icebergs and all this and create a flood is the most preposterous rubbish in history. And yet you find it written in every book about ancient catastrophe as if this is some mechanism for it occurring. Actually, he said the only energy enough to create an ancient flood is if the sun went nova, and that would flood the earth, maybe. So that is his theory. Maybe it's right, maybe it's not. I've actually got my own theory of shrinking earth. If the earth shrinks, the water goes up, right? And the mountains go up, and Tiwanaku goes up, and the earth changes from 366 to 365 or 360. Yeah, whatever. So there we go. Yeah, so English Bob says hello from Cumbria, England. Hello, English Bob. Nice to have you. And we've been going for 2 hours 14. Wow. So Matthew, because I was lonely here, because we're locked down here, because they think they can vaccinate for the virus. they can just wait for a vaccine that doesn't exist, and they can keep us locked down until that time. But the fact is, everyone's going to get it anyway. But whatever. So, Derry has a nice name, and it's a beautiful city, but it has a violent history. Paul from Newcastle. Hi, your connection is unstable. All right, hang on. It said my connection was unstable, so I'm going to the other room. We can't have an unstable connection. Is that better? Yeah. So we're trying again in this room. So yeah, there we go. Right. Yeah. So what were we saying? We were saying something, weren't we? And we were using words, and I believe those words were perhaps in English, weren't they? Yeah, something like that. So yeah. Why am I putting that one on? I should put the other one on. The other one. So yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Hey. Hey, Hayden. Right. So, Manan says the Nagas come from underground cities in our holy books. Buckadog says, could the wobble of the Earth have been caused by something striking it? And would the rotation of the planet affect the gravity of it? My calculations suggest yes. Yeah. Fast Eddie says the moon was a sun. Maybe. Yo, Bloko's asking Manan about the Nagas, and can you give some detail about the history? Now, the Nagas are like demonic snakes, and they're throughout the Hinduism. So the Hinduism is the best way to interpret the ancient world, because Indians have looked at the Etruscan wall art and they say, oh, this is obvious Hindu mythology. So it's Aryan mythology. The Aryans went to the West. And we don't know. We just assume they're pretty pictures of the afterlife. And they say, no, well, it's mythology. We know what these gods are, literally, you know. So India is a place to examine things. Even in that video I made about the temple in Abydos, what is in the West is a phoenix. That legend survives in the East as the Gandabarunda Garuda. And that bird takes 500 years to hatch. The phoenix takes 500 years to hatch. They're painted in the same colors. It's the same bird. It's kind of vulture-like bird. Eagle-like vulture. That's how I would describe both of those birds, really. Yeah. All righty. Yeah. Ooh. So, S. Daniel says, Alora has underground cities as well. Matthew Forrest says the introduction of the moon would affect the gravity. Yao Bloko says Saturn was the sun, not the moon. Manan says, yes, the Nagas went back to their cities. Derek says Naga equals dragon myth. Matthew Forrest says, do some research on the moon. It really shouldn't be there. Weird we have not gone back in 60 years. You know, the moon is really weird. So did you see David Icke was on Australian TV? There's an interview online. And the stupid presenters were so rude to him and just so childish and stupid. And you know, they live in a small world. He lives in a big world. And so they couldn't communicate, really. But he said, oh, the Soviet Academy of Sciences has found this, and they laughed at him because he quoted something from the Soviet Union, it's just, it was so silly. But there's something funny going on with the moon. Look, and this is the thing. Can you name one thing that isn't weird? Everything in life is weird, or it wouldn't exist, right? So for people ridiculing things on the basis of that's a weird argument, that's a weird thought, that's a weird suggestion. No, the weirder, the more likely it is to be true, because it needs to be weird to exist. You see what I mean? So, and people are using this as ridicule as an evidence, or ridicule should never be used, you know. You can only ridicule someone if they're too stupid to believe that ridicule should be used. Then you can ridicule them. Yeah, that's what I say. So, Manan says, if the Saturn is a gas giant,
what would happen if the planet caught fire? So on Australian TV, the stupid presenter said to David Icke, they said, so he said the moon was brought in by aliens, and one of the presenters said, did they bring it on trucks? And he didn't know how to answer that. He was like, in his head, he was thinking, "Oh, you stupid fool." He was also thinking you're very rude, and then he started being extremely rude to them, which provoked them. It's a funny interview, but anyway, yeah. So Eyes of March says it would look like another sun, in my opinion. Do you guys believe in the electric universe? What do you think? Because the electric universe would actually allow many of these things to happen. It would allow moons to change into suns, because if the charge shifts, suddenly a round body acquires a different properties. And the conventional model doesn't allow this to happen, does it? But electric universe kind of does, because it says the sun is not based on an interior thing, but a corona, which is the hot thing, which is the sun is acting like a huge resistor in the electric universe, and it's just lighting up the current that's there. But they said the conventionals say they don't detect a current. But the conventionals say all sorts of rubbish about astronomy. Who knows? Who knows what's really happening, eh? So Manan says, Yara Bloco says the thing about the moon is that it's proportionally bigger than any other moons we know. And it's in the exact orbit it needs to be for life to work down here. Yeah. And as I mentioned many times, Kepler said it was put there by God to learn astronomy because it's the same size as the sun. I know now. So Fast Eddie says, all the craters on the moon are direct head-on hits, statistically important. Yeah, Wise Up was talking about this, and I believe he got that from Mud Fossil, who maybe introduced the idea. And Mud Fossil on his channel wrote about this and talked about this, and it's volcanism. And guess what? There was a paper this year or last year from NASA saying actually they got it wrong and it is volcanism. And it wasn't an early bombardment. And I was saying this also a few years ago in a video, and one geologist said, this has been done to death. It's been found it's not volcanism, it's bombardment. And now they've reversed it. So science is never settled, people, and it's always weird. Always, literally, you know. And the true scientists know this, and the true archaeologists, like you guys, know this, that the world is too weird for the human brain to conceptualize and put into neat little categories that we can think about in our waking hours when the sun happens to be in the sky, right? Yeah. So, Luna Sparkle says, it just shows how old the Earth is. Manan says, the giants were so big, did they wear clothing? And if yes, how were they able to create clothes for their enormous bodies? I mean, you know, that's a good point, actually. Did they deplete the Earth of resources? You know, and here's the other thing. You have to destroy mountains. You have to literally wipe out mountain ranges to create a high-tech world, as we have done. So that means in the distant past, since humans are probably millions or billions of years old, advanced humans, because evolution isn't linear, but it's a higgledy-piggledy snakes, and evolution is like snakes and ladders. Evolution is snakes and ladders, but it's not. That's exactly what evolution is, right? Up and down. But I mean, the earlier Earth must have been filled with. Don't you reckon it must have been filled with mountains? It must have been packed with mountains, and they've been destroyed. They've destroyed the cave where the Neanderthal was found. If you go to where the Neanderthal found, it says, oh, the cave was here. It's a piece of grass. The cave was here, but it was a quarry, so it's gone. So, you know, every time you want a new marble kitchen, you throw away that disgusting old kitchen, you're actually destroying a mountain. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's why I'm keeping the old kitchen. You know, it's 40 years old. Yeah, so Luna Sparkle says it just shows how old the Earth is. Asahoyu says if the moon was flown through the asteroid field, the crater are calculatable.
Manan says, the giants were so big. Did they wear clothing in it? If yes, how were they able to? Oh, yeah, I've read that. Whew, yeah, so Bloker says the giants Titans would have lived on Proto-Earth, which must have been inside Proto-Saturn's magnetosphere. It would have been a tropical planet, so probably no clothing needed. All this according to Electric Universe. I'll read that again. The giants would have lived on Proto-Earth, which would have been inside Proto-Saturn's magnetosphere. It would have been a tropical planet. So do you have a link to this? This is very interesting. Ricky Flair says, hey, Charlie. Oh, hi, Ricky. Late to the stream. Sorry if this has been covered, but do you follow John Levy on YouTube? You guys are mentioning so many people I've never heard of. I'm so sorry. I actually don't watch this stuff. I watch lifestyle. I don't watch this stuff. Sorry. Funny, your average guru says, your average girl says, what if these giants came here as refugees from a planet between Mars and Saturn? Louis, hi Louis. Have you changed your name? Now you're Louis you're Louis the 17th still. Did the Titans shrink? Indeed. I mean, the dinosaurs shrank. All the mammals and marsupials shrank. The humans must have shrunk as well. And it's an unknown mechanism. But I've speculated before that it's an oxygen mechanism. It's a carbon monoxide mechanism. Because if the flood came up through the caves, as was suggested, poisonous gases could have been released all over the planet. And these poisonous gases would have killed the largest animals and left the baby animals alive because they can diffuse oxygen through their skin and they wouldn't have been poisoned. So that's why the rats took over from the dinosaurs, and the rats, every little mammal looks like a rat. Many humans look like rats too. There's many humans with rats' faces. Every human has a face that looks like a particular animal, whether it's a sloth or a rat or a koala or a fox or a bulldog. We all look related to the mammals. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Luna says, "Well, he didn't pass out drunk yet." Oh, I finished it. It's not that much. I'm used to it. So Gavin says, that's some funny shit. Andrew Moore, hey Andrew Moore, says, all we need is evidence. Where is the evidence? I'll tell you, sir, where the evidence is. The evidence is this. So what you do is you go to a 1960s series called The Time Tunnel, and then you build yourself a time tunnel based on the schematics in that documentary. And then you walk yourself down that little corridor into the damn time tunnel, and what you do is you basically walk into that time tunnel and you get to a previous civilization. And then you say to yourself, well, I've traveled time and I've found the proof. And then people will not believe you. So there is no such thing as proof. No one will believe this damn proof, you know what I mean? The proof don't exist. There ain't no such thing as proof, right? Proof don't exist, guys. I mean, honestly, there is no proof. Proof does not exist, right? Okay, let's get back. I have to go back because there, it's the problem with over there is no internet. The connection is very bad, and it's just an awful connection, you see. So yeah. All right, there we go. Got our ice, and we're back in business. Right, okay. Oh, that's the They don't know how that was built. Can you believe it? They don't know how it was built. Right. Okay. So where were we? Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Ready. Oh yeah. Time. Right. So what was I talking about? What's I missing? Yeah, okay, so, yeah. Rat life. All we need is evidence. Where is the evidence? I know it. Buckdog says, I know a few rat bastards. What are you going to do then, Buckdog? Yarl Bloker says, dinosaurs were the Titans' chickens. Most of them had feathers, according to recent research. Ricky Flair says, you look like Al Murray pub landlord. Any plans to do stand-up? What's that? I don't know what that is. Ides of March, inner earth and caves would protect you from a poisonous atmosphere. Oh. Louis says, Sfinger. Oh, please tell me what it means. Sfinger is Titan in Greek. Titan or Titan. The words could have been no. If something has two definitions, the two definitions arise from the same root. You see what I mean? Because the roots wouldn't double up. The roots, it's like a family tree. It spreads that way. It doesn't spread back in time the wrong way, like with branches. So you're saying it means tight. So tighten. So why would it mean that? I guess they were the tight ones. They were just tight-fisted, iron-fisted. Maybe that's what it means. Yeah, but thanks for telling me that. Well, Andrew Moore says, Time Machine, great film. Buckeye Shine says, no one would believe me even if I went down a time tunnel. Buckeye Shine says, proof doesn't exist. Manan, oh, that's too strong. Yeah, I put too much in there. Manan says, the Romans invented concrete and cement by using volcanic ash. Why did they stop using it and went back to rocks? Yeah, because they didn't use it. Because they didn't use it, the pre-Romans used it. And Wise Up said this as well, and I've taken a lot of ideas from Wise Up's channel as well. Like my early videos are a lot of based on his stuff in Mud Fossil, because their stuff is so good. But he don't like me. He don't like me because for various reasons. Yeah. So, oh, there we go. It goes. So Fast Daddy says, "Who is July Wood? Show me the evidence." Louis says, "Artifact versus artificial." Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So English Bob says, if gravity wasn't as heavy in the past, hence the size of dinosaurs, would that mean people were stronger and could lift more heavy and bigger stones and like? Yal Bloco says, they don't know how this was built. That's because the Tartarians built it. Bucky Dog says, exactly, Bob. Culprit says, if you understand time, you can control reality in theory. Louis says, Titan conscript gripped shrink. Yeah, grip. The grip ones. The shrink ones. Gavin says, awesome house looks like a post-World War II double brick beast. It is a 1950, I believe, single brick veneer with no insulation in the walls, so it gets cold. And I'm in the extension, and that there is the old back door because there's a brick wall back there. So I'm in an extension, which is also mid-century. Yeah. So Yahal Bloker says, I think time traveling is somehow possible for the pineal gland. People who know how to train it is capable in remote viewing and even remote time viewing. That would explain some prophecies and things like shirts and pocket watches sculpted in ancient Indian temples. Wow. Andrew Moore says, smell is the best time travel. It is. Manan says, hey, Charles, I'm having a lot of fun. Your videos are amazing, but can you please explain the Tartarian theory and the mud flood theory? So, Manan, the Tartarian theory. Okay, the Tatars were slave traders. They were very bad people. They relied on trading. They basically invented the word for the Slavs by trading them as slaves. So people would say, I have a Slav, I have a slave. This does not come from ancient Rome. The ancient Romans had an ancient Roman slave, a male slave is a servus, a female slave is a serva, and this made the word servant. So a servant is a slave in Latin. The Tartars, their whole economy was based on trading slaves and mining the Silk Road and people passing through and kidnapping them as well. So I have a lot of, I don't like that they are called Tartarians. Tartary is the wasteland part of China. We have seen in an older video, I made a video about Tartars, that the Tartar flag of the dragon is, there are 3 Chinese flags in the 19th century with dragons. One is the Tartar flag of West China. One is the Chinese flag dragon. and one is Indochina, Vietnam, Cochin China. These are the three Chinas. And Tartaria is just China, Mongolia. The Tatars are a European word for the Mongols who settled in southern Russia and Crimea and Iran and places like that. And these people were living by wicked means. So I don't like that they're called Tatars to begin with, right? Secondly, you will not, the Tatar civilization is associated with Tesla's technologies. How on earth would Tesla from America be in any way associated with someone in central Mongolia in the 19th century? Is beyond me. That is a bit weird, don't you think? So the whole Tatar thing kind of stinks, right? Now, having said that, yeah, those are telegraph poles. They show old telegraph poles. They show no people. We know why there's no people in the photos, because the graphic film is too slow. We know that these are telegraph poles. They're not some type of weird electricity. But yes, it's a fun theory. It's the most fun theory ever. So why not have a bit of fun? But is it real? I mean, if you look at the 19th century and the 17th century, the 18th century newspapers, you can look at the 18th century newspapers as well. You see that they talk about setting up telegraph poles, setting up all these new technologies. You don't see any Tartaria in the newspapers. You should. We have the newspapers. The Tartaria should be there. It's not. Simple as that. What do you think? What do you think? Simple as that. Look on old newspaper archives online. You won't find a great European civilization that's been destroyed. Having said that, Napoleon's army was wiped out. Hitler's army was wiped out by the coldest winter in the 20th century, basically. Yeah. Funny, eh? Yeah. But there were mud floods, yeah. So, for example, I found evidence that early Melbourne seems to have been washed away. That's right. There were floods on the Yarra River. We were on the Yarra River, and they got water out of this river. Fresh water out of this river. And here's the evidence for Tartaria, not the old buildings, but the absence of old buildings. And the floods seem to have been in the 1830s during the period of revolutions. The 1830s in Europe, there were revolutions, there was starvation. The old order was trying to come back after the French Revolution and cement its place. And it was confronted by basically Antifa of the 1830s, revolutionaries trying to take power and take over. They failed. They failed for the whole 19th century. Those monarchies were too strong until World War I, and they just collapsed because it was new people. They weren't strong enough. But there were floods in the 1830s. You will not find a building in Melbourne older than 1850. I've looked. We were founded in 1835. Are there any buildings from 1835? There's one. There are no old buildings before 1850, and I found newspaper articles saying there were floods. So maybe the buildings were just bad buildings, or something happened in history and it's wiped out history. So is Tartaria true? Yes and no, depending on what bits you look at. You know, what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, what do you guys reckon? So I'll just see what you guys reckon, because you've been posting a bit of stuff here. So just scrolling up a bit. Bit of viruses here, eh? So Chinese Tatars. Asahoyu says Tatar is a diss name, like barber. There must be a real word for the culture. Yeah. So I would recommend the inventors and the promulgators of the Tartaria theory come up with a damn better word than Tatar. Tatars are nomads in central Tamerlane's people. The Turks are sort of like Mongols mixed with Iranians. That's the Turks, or something like, I don't know, something like that. Don't you think? They're Tamerlanes, the Turks. Mongols are different. Mongols are Attila. Mongols are basically Attila the Hun. Hungarians are Far East Europeans, but they're not Mongols. Mongols are Attila. There were Mongol invasions again and again and again, and I reckon the redheads in Western Europe came from Asia. They have Asian-like eyelids. It's quite interesting. I mean, I can show you that now. I can prove that now. So Asians have invaded Europe many times. For example, the Comtessa of Stratford. We will look at her, and she is on this picture, I wish I'll put on the wall. And look at those eyes, Asian eyes. The redhead people have Asian eyes. It's a really interesting thing. It's a really interesting thing. Anyway, what were we talking about? Tatters. Okay, so what have you people written? So Chinese tatters. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So Fast Eddie says crepuscular rays prove flat Earth. The flat Earth theory is interesting. There are pluses and minuses to it. I reckon flat Earth people should define what they're talking about. The problem with the flat Earth people is they're talking physics. Psychologically, we're on a flat Earth. Isn't that enough? I don't know. So Lapis Philosophorum says Tesla is maybe the Wizard of Oz or reinvented tech. Curtis says, where did you see this telephone pole stuff? Never seen it. Just look up old newspapers online. Look up Telegraph. And they talk about people laying out their own types of telegraph system, and you see what the telegraph poles look like. If there's many things, they're all telegraph poles, and they're not a sort of free energy like is promulgated in the Tartaria videos. Unfortunately, I wish the Tartaria was true because that's actually a really fun theory, but it's wrong on so many levels. The name is wrong. Don't call them Tatars. Call them Teslas. Call them Teslaria or something like that. Secondly. Tesla didn't invent, they're looking at free energy Tesla-like technologies when Tesla didn't perfect any of these technologies. And if there was a Tartaria, Tesla could simply have had those technologies already. Why would he have been trying to perfect them if they were already in existence in the 19th century, I guess, when the photos of Tartaria were around? So there's a million things wrong with this theory, even though, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Andrew Moore says he's trying to invent you're a genius, Andrew. If you're trying to invent only a genius for trying to invent a board game, so you're something special. Trying to invent a board, but in a good way, that invents little bottles of smells. Wow. Asahoyu says, Tatar is a diss name like barber. There must be a real word for the culture. Yeah. There's Chinese Rex in New Zealand and AU. Bogus hype, says Charles. I heard on some radio show that Shangri is a country that will be revealed at the end of time. Is that what you have found? Shangri-La is the Atlantis legend. So a mountain in the middle. It shows the Atlantis legend was in the west. So Shangri-La is that there's a mountain. Shangri-La is there's mountains surrounding a secret hidden valley, which is basically the Garden of Eden. And then there is a central mountain with a city on it or nearby. It's basically a picture of the world tree or Atlantis. It's the same as Atlantis legend, but it's from Asia. So it shows that Atlantis was thought of as an original home by the Egyptians as a Shangri-La, which is a clue that Egyptians came from there, which is the Atlantic, right? So, which is very interesting. So, yeah, Shangri-La. It's Atlantis, yeah. But what did you ask me? You asked me. I've lost track of the question. I'm so sorry. So Ides of March says Scythians tattooed themselves, probably the ancient Celts and Picts also. Oh, interesting. Jarl Bloco says, I think Tartarian theory is way real. It was a big empire that was North America too. EEUU was built upon its remains. All that remains is massive stone masonry supposed by fortune-seeking. Well, you're right, but that empire is not called Tartaria. It's called the Western civilization. I mean, that empire was real. I mean, you know, depends what word you use, I guess. If you call it Tartaria, that means Tartaria was real too. So, yeah. Right. Okay. So Louis says the Tawny or olive or Mongolian race includes the Tatars, the Chinese, and other inhabitants of the eastern and southwestern parts of Asia, except for the Malays and also the Laplanders in Europe. Reality Theory Channel says, how many pyramids are there? And your guess is as good as mine. Millions. Millions. Ricky Fly says, Tesla was originally from Eastern Europe. At what point, and I mean millions, Tesla was originally from Eastern, like even in Fiji, there's thousands of them. There's actually thousands of pyramids, little platform pyramids in Fiji. Anyway, Ricky Flair says, Tesla was originally from Eastern Europe, which you point out the Tatars raided and made slaves of. Tatars were meant to have atmospheric electricity, maybe from Tesla towers, maybe from proto-Earth. Well, that's deep. But it's interesting. Yara Bloko says, Fast Eddie, okay, he's talking to Fast Eddie. Manan says, was the Tower of Babel was first? Yeah. Yeah, so for example, if you actually look at old pictures of the Lighthouse of Alexandria, you see a literal skyscraper. I think the Empire State Building is some kind of a future reflection of the skyscraper Tower of Babel. Or it's really interesting, isn't it? Maybe I'll sit next to the bookshelf. You know, I'll have a. What I'm going to do? I'm going to sit next to the bookshelf. Have a bookie view. Right? There we go. Yeah, bookie view. Bookie view. Right, there we go. That's more authoritative. There we go. Bookie view. Right. What were we saying? It was so interesting that in my excitement, exactly what we were talking about has totally slipped my mind because of the ecstatic rapture I was in. So to read the comments, Yar Bloko says there's an article on a Gov site from the 1880s talking about an advanced civilization in North America. It's called Antiquities in America on the Raftman Journal. Interesting. Oh, Luke, hey, how you doing? Yeah. Louis says it has no communication with the ocean, mountains, the Altai Mountains of the north, and the Belga Tagli, a bunch of Himalaya mountains on the south. Interesting. Remote control. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So Louis has found something about Tartary, and he says independent Tartary is a large country comprising Great and Little Bukharia, Chokistan, Kharazm. A part of the country is now included in the Kingdom of Kabul, and that's the problem with Tartary, isn't it? The photos are never from those places, because if they did take photos in those places, they would show a desert and just a few tents, a few primitive people, not primitive people, but primitive dwellings, right? So that's that doesn't make any sense. So the whole Tartary theory doesn't make any sense because the name is wrong. If you call it a better name, why not call it something like Steampunk Tesla or something like that? Then it would make sense. Yeah. So George says people are referring to the Tartarians as Tartarians and not the Tartars of Eastern Europe. They show up on old maps across Russia and their architecture is evident all over the world. Okay, so you're a believer in the theory. I'm not going to interfere with that belief. That's fine. That's fine. I just say the name is totally wrong because obviously you see where the origin of the name is, and it's different to what they're showing on the photos. They're showing photos of Europe and they're calling them Tartars, which are from China. So why not show photos from China and show the same technologies? But they don't. That's the problem. But I don't want to argue. So Louis says the EU headquarters in Brussels look more like the Tower of Babel from artists' renditions. Yeah, interesting. So Manan says Tesla wanted to make electricity free for the entire world. That's why he was never funded by the government and died depressed. He did, didn't he? He was. You know what? You're right, Manan. He was depressed because he sort of sat in the park and he was feeding the pigeons. That's it. And some of the things he was doing, like he was always skinny, playing with his food. That's a sort of depressed thing to do. Like some people get fat when they're depressed, like me, or other people get, I'm not depressed. Other people get skinny when they're depressed. Maybe he was depressed all his life because he was such a genius. Can you have any friends if you can't relate to people in the same way? If people are different from you, is it possible? Maybe he was very lonely. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So Fast Eddie says they say the Cherokee Indians were inhabiting the Tartarian buildings in America when Columbus arrived. And there were buildings there. You're right, there were buildings there. Gavin says, not the BS they have taught us over here in AU. Louis says Columbus never interacted with the Cherokees. Andrew Moore says, why do Eastern people have different eyes? Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it, Andrew? Why do they have different eyes? Why do they indeed? I mean, the eyes are very, very different. Yeah, no, it's a funny. Yarrow Bloku says, for more info about Tesla, I recommend Ken Wheeler, Fiora Apophasis. And I'm sure we all know Ken Wheeler because he has a huge channel. He's been doing it for years, and he has a really he has an entertaining manner about him. He's a very entertaining person, and he's a real genius as well. He reads very obscure books, which he pays a lot of money to get. Like if you bought one of those books he shows, you'd pay $100, So he's a very clever guy for sure. Yeah. Buck Dog says it's hard. Smart people tend to be lonely people. It's kind of true as well. I mean, look at Newton. If Newton, look, I have a biography of Newton called Never at Rest. If Newton wasn't a lonely person, he could never have been never at rest. He would have been. If Newton wasn't lonely, he'd always be at parties and drinking and have lots of friends about. But he wasn't. He was always researching and reading, and so yeah. Luna Sparkle says drugs are a factor though. Derek says all Tesla's papers are confiscated and were looked at by a certain MIT professor called John G. Trump. Isn't that funny? I remember. Do you remember Donald Trump was saying? He said he's a genius because he's got a physics professor ancestor called John Trump, and he actually is from a pretty clever family. You see, his sister's got a PhD in psychology, and she reckons she can psychoanalyze him. I reckon she should psychoanalyze herself before judging him, but whatever. But I'll talk about that, right? Yeah. What do you guys think though? You guys can talk. Derek says all Teslas are okay. Buckdog says alienated by their own intelligence. Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. Evan says mud floods are real. There's volcanoes in my neck of the woods. They have lahar drills occasionally during an eruption. A flash flood of concrete slurry can fill the whole river valley. Wow. Manan says Tesla also died a virgin. F in the chat for him. Did he? Damn. So isn't it funny? Someone so smart investigated all that stuff, but he didn't investigate women. And that's a scientist. What do you think? Anyway, okay. So Ricky Flair says Tesla died like a true Chad, died pure like a true Chad. Okay, that's one way of putting it. Buck Dog says some of the Egyptian statues have distinctly Asian Oriental features. Interesting. So Luna Spike says lol. Yarrow Bloco says yeah, Ken is the real deal. Lapis Philosophorum, which means philosopher's stone, says a tartar is a raw egg with raw meat. It's a joke or threat. You want to become a tartar. So it's saying in Germany, eh? 100% Comatose says Ken Wheeler knows what he does. Ken Wheeler but they're all, every channel, they're all good guys. Like Ken Wheeler or any ancient mystery channels, they're all doing it like, they're all doing it for passion. Like we're doing it for passion. There's no other reason to do it. Like, yeah. Kenny's work is free. He wrote a book. You have to pay for that book, but he wrote a book on magnetism, Luna Spark says, are you lonely? I'm single. I'm in here by myself. Am I lonely? Not really. Buck Dog, is that why Trump calls himself a chosen one? Isaac March says, this is a great chat, had fun. Thank you, Isaac March. You've made it special by being here as well. 100% Comatose says, it's Trump's great uncle, I think. Culprit says, there's a layer of sand from the ocean a few feet down all over the land around here, and there's shells everywhere. there is underneath the Otways to somewhere, all the sand got washed up onto the land. Luke Hanlon, Luke says he's never alone with friends like this. Luna Sparkles. Thank you, Luke. you're a good fellow, Luke. Luna Sparkles, all good. Derek says 100% comatose. Have you seen a picture of young John Trump? The similarity to Julian Assange is uncanny. Oh, really? I'll look that up later. That sounds really interesting. By the way, Julian Assange. Do you know, my brother met Julian Assange. You want to hear about it? Melbourne University. Julian Assange was doing a physics degree. Assange thought that if he does a physics degree, he can get into ASIO or the CIA and become a spy. And so he was doing physics, but he dropped out. And my brother was doing a physics degree, and he was put in the same group as Assange, and they all had to do a practical together. And my bro said, "Oh, what's your name, mate?" And he said, "Oh, Julian." And he said, "Oh, Julian." And my bro thought that Assange was a mature age student, because Assange was always, first he had white hair, even though he was young, but he was always sitting in the front row. And he also had a very professional look about him because he had like a suitcase or something. And I remember this WikiLeaks thing because I was a student there as well. And I remember after one lecture, after the lecture went away, Assange went up to the front and he said, "Oh, we're handing out leaflets." Oh, he was at the back. And later there were some people handing out leaflets to join this WikiLeaks thing. And I assumed it was Wikipedia, like a branch of Wikipedia, but anyone can make a wiki page. There's a wiki culture where anyone can make a wiki page. You know what I mean? And I thought that was quite interesting. And then look what happened to him, you know. And I thought, oh, WikiLeaks, that sounds like a really good organization, doesn't it? You know. And for a few years, it seemed like a fun thing to do, you know. And then look what happened. Do you think he was collecting blackmail information? Is that why people are up in arms? Because like Epstein, look what happened to Epstein. Was he collecting blackmail information? Was that the point of WikiLeaks? I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, damn, you know. Anyway, Andrew Moore says 2020 is the year science died. Yeah, you're right. Andrew Moore, I think you're a very clever guy. I like you, Andrew Moore. Sorry, anyway. Louis says Tesla respected women too much. That's what happened to the Coneheads. They respected, the Coneheads would have been the first to respect women, and the women said, "Nah, I like the pirate guys," and they would have gone for them, right? Yeah, so that's why there's no Coneheads anymore. So and that's going to happen to us as well, I guess. So we're going to disappear as well. So Asahoya said, it's really the name of something to eat. Oh, yeah, I've read that. Okay. Andrew Moore says, "Hi, Charles, is the best way to chat." Comatose says, interesting. Luke Hanlon says, look up Assange connection to Anne Hamilton Burns' sinister cult. Yeah, so that's right. Assange was like, he was at Melbourne Uni. He was a physicist trying to become a spy because he heard that spies have some kind of science degree or physics or something. And in fact, ASIO, the spy agency, they were actually recruiting people who had finished I think they were recruiting people who had finished a science degree. They recruit these people because these people are basically people who are interested in lots of general things, you know. Yeah. But, and I believe I saw him, this is in 2001. And he was outside immediately after the end of the lecture, some business lecture, no, what was it? I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. And he was handing out leaflets. And he was with some other guy, and I was thinking, what are these older guys doing here? Like, what do they care? You know, what are they doing here? You know what I mean? You know, and yeah, I think I remember him. Yeah, like he was handing out his WikiLeaks crap. You know. Anyway, so So you said he used to have the hacker alias Mendax. Yeah, in that I watched that Assange movie. That was so funny, wasn't it? With that bloke who plays Sherlock, and he was playing Assange. That was such a funny film. Yeah, Bloker says, "Gotta go now. Pleasure chatting with you guys. Have a great and insightful day." You too. Back at you, mate. Black Eye Shine says, "Epstein." Oh, that's a Picasso print. You see that? Look at that! Look at that! Look at that! Oh, sorry, guys. I have to show. Look, it's a mother and child. Isn't that lovely? What was that film? Right. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So, Manan says the Ark of the Covenant was a box which would disintegrate people if the person touched wasn't a Jewish priest, was a nuclear from previous reset. Maybe it was, mate. So we'll probably wrap this up in a few minutes, guys, because it's getting pretty late here. It's been going for 3 hours. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to watch a film noir movie and have some fun watching that and finish this off. But it's been good to have you guys here. Hey, Luke, how you doing? So Luke says, Luke's a very nice guy. Luke says, children of God, all blonde-haired children. Yeah, so Assange was in this cult, which was all blonde-haired children. And we were talking about this earlier because I actually had an ex who was flaxen-haired, and someone told me the platinum blonde people are flaxen-haired. That was the name. And this is a very different type of human that no one talks about. People talk about redheads. They never mention this as a separate type of people, the flaxen-haired people, which is very strange. And they're like really different. They're different people. They're not like they're like extreme blondes, extremely moody and very different people. Anyway. But anyway, ancient history criticism. I'm finishing up, but I'll finish up in a few minutes. But hello, ancient history criticisms. How you doing, mate? I've been going for we're going for 3 hours here, mate. Yeah. So we were just saying Assange. So Luke pointed out that Assange was part of a cult, which was they were all blondes. What this cult was, it was run by a woman. You guys won't believe this story. It was run by a very, very charismatic woman who said she was Jesus. And Assange was, I think, briefly in this cult or something like that, because he was Assange is a flaxen-haired blonde. And the flaxen-haired, like the gingered, are a separate people. They are not blondes. And this woman had connections with Melbourne Uni, with psychiatric institutions. The Premier of Victoria was a member of this cult. So if she didn't like someone, she could put them away in a mental asylum in St Kilda and have them tortured or questioned or whatever. So she died free, a free woman in the 90s. Assange was a member of this cult. There's a documentary about this. The problem is, as you go to the upper echelons, everyone's in the same Masonic cult. Everyone's in the same club. So the problem is, this is why there's so much police brutality, because the police chiefs are in the same club as the politicians, Although the police are great. They're wonderful people, but, obviously a few bad eggs, right? And there's, I don't want to talk politics, but yeah. So it's been great, Andrew. It's been great. It's been ancient history criticisms. You haven't made any videos yet. You say you've heard this about silver hair. Yeah, the silver-haired people, they're abducted by aliens. Now, let's keep going for a bit. So the silver-haired, so I had an ex who was platinum blonde from Sydney. Platinum. Natural platinum blonde. And she was a complete psychopath. And she said her mother was worse. Oh my gosh, she was. So any moody blonde for me is nothing, is easy to handle, is piece of cake compared to the platinum blondes, the flaxen ones like Assange. You cannot handle them. You actually cannot handle them because they are epically self-sabotaging people. You've heard that too, have you? So. So Buckeye says, if I heard elongated skull club, but these people are different. And abductees, yes, they see ghosts. They're abducted by aliens. They see poltergeists. Poltergeists attack them all the time. That's a peculiarity of these people. They come from Ireland. They're from. You see them in Galway. That's the only place I've seen them commonly. Platinum blonde people. Yeah, interesting. So Andrew Moore said, I saw the documentary last year. Oh, was that the one about that woman? Oh, you watched it. You're an Aussie, Andrew? You have an English name, so maybe you're an Aussie. Buckadog says, I think the Ark was radioactive battery. Ancient history. So Buckadog says, love your work. Adam says, hey, Charles, hello from Adelaide. Good to see you. Yeah, good to see you too, Adam. Ancient history criticisms, abductees, thanks. So I'll finish off in a few minutes. George says, my blonde girlfriend is hard work. George, you have a blonde girl. George, you have my extreme sympathies. Extreme sympathies. And if she's a cherry blonde, she might be even harder work. So, yeah. Buckadog, no, let's talk about, Buckadog says blonde girls have daddy issues. Do they? They do. They do. You're right. They do. They like their daddies. Adam says, try living with a woman who is schizophrenic and doesn't like to medicate. I don't want to think about that, Adam. My sympathy. English Bob says, I've been abducted many times. Yeah, many very intelligent people have been abducted. All of them. So I have two blonde exes. They've both been abducted many times. Like, well, what's going on with this abduction thing? And they tell you stories about all their abductions. Like, what the hell's going on here with these abductions? Louis says, Children of the Corn. Platinum blonde, natural born leader, in the wrong role. They go mad. They can't rule. Louis says, little blonde girl apologized. Sharon says, sorry, change subject. Have you read the book, The Forgotten Exodus, The Theory of Human Evolution by Bruce Felsen? Unfortunately, I have not, but that sounds extremely intriguing. Luke Hanlon says, rip. My view says, hello from England. P.S. Our beautiful Earth is flat. Bucky Dog says, lol, Lewis. My view says, hello from UK. Ancient history criticisms. Robert Shepard has been going deep into. I don't have to check out Robert Shepard lately. He's a pretty good. Robert Shepard was on my Facebook, and he said, "Keep doing what you're doing." So yeah. Lol. Louis says, "Wasn't she flaxen haired?" George says, "Cheers, mate." Luke Hanlon says she died from burst internal injuries due to foul play. Momo says the cult was, yes, the cult. So if you want to look up the cult in the documentary about the Assange cult, it's called The Family. Yeah, and it seems to have been, well, it doesn't seem to have been, it doesn't seem to have been 100% sinister. It wasn't an Armageddon cult. It was just it was a cult. And the object was the leader, the woman, was so extreme. Like, imagine the most charismatic person you know, and times 10. That's her. So, and she ran this cult. So it was a cult, yeah. So Louis says dolls are drugs. Ides of March says, I think the Amazon's warrior women were Scythians. We'll finish the video exactly when this finishes. Some of you have left already, but whatever. So Ides of March says, I think the Amazons were warrior women were Scythians. Bucky Dog says, I don't know what to make of Shepard. He seems a little off. Look, Robert Shepard is an interesting character. Robert Shepard is sympathetic with certain political movements. I like him a lot. I am not political. I don't want to be political because I think everyone, the looters they are, wants the best. So who are we to blame? But whatever. I'm not going to be clear. I'm not going to say that. I don't say anything. I don't want to say nothing about politics. Robert Shepard presents a certain point of view which is very popular in the ancient history community. So why not? You know, he's a nice guy. I like him. Yeah. Anyway, Manan says, why don't the native Aborigines of Australia share their folk stories with the white people? By the way, his name's Shepard. That name is it an English name? It's Shepard. It's an interesting name. Like, is he a shepherd? I don't know. That's funny. It's a funny name, isn't it? It's a funny name. Yeah. My View says, did my messages appear 3 times? I didn't see your messages, My View. Did anyone see My View's messages? You must have. There must be a bit of dust under your enter key. Sorry. I want to keep going. I don't know. It's fun. This is fun, isn't it? Momo says she was a yoga teacher. Did you reckon she went from a yoga teacher, being a charismatic yoga teacher? Maybe she had some very enthusiastic male students, to becoming a cult leader, and she thought, oh, I can do this. You know what I mean? I've got people who really like me, and then she decided, oh, I can, run a cult. I wouldn't run a cult. Would you guys run a cult? I wouldn't run a cult because morality reasons. Like, how can you do that to people? Seriously, that'd be terrible. That's terrible. Yeah, but I'd like to do it if I didn't have that morality problem. I mean, yeah. But yeah, how can you do that to people? Yeah, damn. Yeah, so Ricky Spence says, holy smokes. Hey, Ricky Spence, how you doing? Luna Sparkle says, Robert Shepard and Rico Man. Entry his quiz says, I like Robert Shepard too. He's a loner. He is a bit of a loner, isn't he? Because he's got the dog. Many of us in ancient history are actually loners. Like we're a bit Tesla types, aren't we? Some of us, it depends. It depends, it depends. If you can relate to people, you can relate to people. Robert Shepard, he talks about really interesting things. I don't watch him though, but he talks about really interesting things. So Luna Sparkle says, we were Facebook friends for a while. Things got weird, lol. Okay. Ricky Spence says, Shepia. Luna Sparkle says, shh. Bucky Dog says, gotta go, 5 hours, Charles. Gotta go. Thanks so much for being here, Bucky Dog. It was really awesome with you. Thank you so much, mate. Yeah. Manan says, you didn't answer my question. What's your question, mate? Sorry, I didn't see it, mate. Ancient History Critic says, mate, how can I see your question? Seriously. Ancient History Critic says, nub cult. So, guys, if you don't know, on Twitter, go onto Twitter, Ancient Criticisms and me and a few others, not me, are always talking about nubs. Nubs. It's a lot of nubs. But the nubs, like the ancient redheads, are the key to solving the ancient worldwide civilization, aren't they? So, and that's why people like, ancient history criticisms are really interested in them, super interested in them. Yeah. Ricky says, you're not Tesla weird. I'm not. I'm more normal than him. I don't know about, maybe talking about someone else. Reality Theory Channel says, what do you think about the Ricketts? Mate, I don't like the Ricketts structure because the sea level did this, Atlantis did this, and the Rickett is up here. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't like the Ricketts structure at all. It's a volcano. It's a top of a volcano. That's what I think of it. That's it. Andrew Moore has retracted his channel because it's too intelligent for this audience. Andrew Moore says, got to be your own in order to think. You're right. Andrew, you're a very clever guy. My view says, I just thumbed up like your thing. Cool. Bucky Dog says, get your nub down. That's what I tell ancient history criticisms on Twitter. I tell we're the nub people. But they're more into it than me. They have a huge nub interest. Manan says, why? Okay, this is Manan's question. He said, why didn't you answer my question? Okay, Manan. Why Aborigines don't share their folk stories with the white people of Australia? I'm getting a bit tipsy, so we'll finish soon. But 20 minutes, 10, 20 minutes. Aborigines are not allowed to talk. I'll tell you, Manan, let me explain. I was at Ayers Rock, and when you drive past a certain part of Ayers Rock, the bus driver says, "I'll stop filming, you're not allowed to film here. This is the sacred female area, or this is the sacred male area." So I had to walk around Ayers Rock to find out what this is all about. And I saw the sacred female and male areas are actually huge rock formations that look like sacred female and male genitalia. Sacred areas actually look like vulvas or penises going into the, whatever. They actually look like that. So that's why you're not allowed to film. And those are sacred areas And I've debated, should I make a video about this to expose what the sacred areas are? But then I thought, no, I won't do that because the Aborigines said don't film that. And the Aborigines have the wise wisdom of the ancient redheads because they're related to them. The ancient redheads were in Australia. They've got stone circles, ancient. So I'm looking at, I have to respect that, you know what I mean? Like that would be absolutely wrong to do that. To, you know, if they don't want to film it, it shouldn't be filmed. You know what I mean? But having said that, that is what those sacred places on Ayers Rock are. So maybe that answers part of the question. So they don't share so much information because it's taboo. It's sacred. Information is by nature, like the Druid information, sacred information. You cannot reveal it. If you reveal it, you're breaking your social circle, you're breaking your cult, you're breaking the taboo. Don't reveal it. And they don't tell us the information. They really don't. Very few. So the people who have talked to Steve Strong, for example, he mentions one or two elders who have spoken to him and told him valuable information. It's very rare, but it seems very rare that it happens. And I believe he's part Aboriginal as well. So it's because it's not allowed to be revealed. It's forbidden. That's the reason. It's totally forbidden, mate. Yeah. So what else? Culprit Black says they were probably from a holder from a vacuum bag. I finished that. Ricky Spence says most men have a knob interest. Ricky, you can say that again. Luke Hanlon says, ha, 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 ha. Culprit Black says they probably had a plastic sheet, pump in a mix of geopolymers into a mold, make it vacuum, heat it up, and ba-ba-bing, ba-boom, ba-bing, ba-boom, a rocket. Now, I said that, you know what? I suggested this in a video a long time ago, 2017. Maybe I got it from a YouTuber who mentioned this in a comment. And then Mr. Wise Up started talking about it in his videos. And he said, I've always thought this was made by bags. And I called him up on this. I said, look, mate, I said this before you said this. and then he went wild. And he made a video about me. He said, like, I never got to see it. He took it down. But he went wild apparently. So, but he really doesn't like me. But there you go. Funny stuff, eh? Anyway, I better stop this soon because I've had too much. But so Momo says, anyone else slightly concerned with the rise of pro-socialism, especially? So Momo, you're in Melbourne, like me. You're trapped here. I want to go for a drive. I got a nice car. I can't go for a drive with my friends. Whatever friends I've got left after this lockdown, which are not many because we've all been very moody. And the lockdown is going to continue another 4 weeks or 5 weeks. What are we going to do, Momo? You tell me what we're going to do. I mean, there's not a lot we can do, you know. Yeah. Ancient history criticism says, excuse me, what? Only problem with bags is there are no bag remnants found between blocks in situ. I agree. Ancient history, what do you think about my theory that the knobs are blocks of wood which have been used to hold up blocks which have been coated over with cement? And the knobs show because they're coated. What do you think? Manan says, excited for the Atlantean language video. Keep up the work you're doing, entertaining. Thank you so much, Manan. You know, I'm just, this is a pure hobby. Just a pure hobby, and I thank you for watching, and you're the best. And thank you for contributing your wisdom as well, especially with your name, the Manan name, because now we know what Manan means. And that, you know, the ancient Egyptians had your name. The ancient Egyptians are partly from the East. This is proof they're partly from the East. Look at the phoenix. They have the Garuda legend, but they call it the phoenix. It's interesting, yeah. So Vondeloo, hello Vondeloo, says, I think my hot dog comment was censored. Hi, Charles. Hi, Vondeloo. How you doing? I don't censor you. But so and maybe ancient history does this as well. Like there's some people out there who are unbelievably rude in the worst possible way, and they're just having a bad day or a bad life. And those people, you have to hide them from the channel because they'll keep being rude, video after video after video, and you can only have so much patience, and you have to hide them from the channel, unfortunately. So ancient history says we should be able to detect remnants of such bags between precision placed blocks. Adam says maybe a giant from previous age was a live mold. Culprit Black says try taking a nap in some butter in the freezer. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to do that, mate. I'm not sure about that. Ricky Spence says, oh, poor Rona victims, indeed. But you know what? Most of us have had Rona already. I reckon we've had it. It's been described on forums online as the worst flu people have ever had since about August last year. It's been around a lot. It's been around the world. We've already had it. So I don't know why they should keep locking us down. I mean, it's really we're gonna get it anyway because there's never been a vaccine for coronavirus. Like the fact there's never been a vaccine for coronavirus means we're getting it. So why are we locked down until there's a vaccine? Now, this is an illogical problem, don't you think? Anyway, but here we're stuck in Melbourne. Yeah. So Ancient History has responded. He said the problem with wood, because I've suggested the wood has been coated over with cement. It's been used to hold up a block, which has been coated. He says, and thank you for being here, Ancient. I really appreciate it. I'm actually a bit drunk now. The problem the wood is with wood is we would be able to detect petrified wood next to stone, or it would rot out and leave voids. Now, I want to go there and investigate that, Ancient. I want to actually investigate that fully. I want to go there, do it like Brian Forster is doing, and I don't want the high altitude sickness though. A friend actually went on on a Brian Forster tour, by the way, and he was not impressed with Brian Forster. Forster was a little bit rude, unfortunately. But I like Forster. I reckon Forster is actually one of the great scientists, and I believe he will not be recognized for the great work he's done. But I understand. I've done tours myself, and I know, like walking tours. I used to run historical walking tours, and I know that tours can be repetitive and annoying, and there is a reason for rudeness. The customers are always the same. They're always like this. They're always the same. But getting back to your thing, you say the problem with wood is we would not be able to detect petrified wood next to stone, or would rot out and leave void. I want to see it. I want to go there, cut a stone in half, and see it. That's the only way. Analyze it with a microscope. So he also says nubs appear to be the same material as the blocks. By the way, Ancient, what time is it over there? Like, thanks for being here. What time is it? He's got, 36,000 subscribers or something like that now on your channel. Yeah, I wish I had more of this. So, yeah. So see you, Linus Sparkles. Derek says, have you had any minor earth tremors in Melbourne recently? I haven't had any, but Momo is in Melbourne. Have you had any Momo? There haven't been any. I haven't noticed any. Sometimes you notice them at nighttime, or you hear a truck passing where there's no road. That's how you know it's an earthquake. Luke says Roger at Mud Fossil University has a good take on the nubs. Dude, does he? I'm just going to get some more of this stuff. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, so Louis says Egypt, eject, erupt, Europe. Now, Louis, I wish you wouldn't speak in riddles, because this is not a Tolkien novel, you know. I mean, no need for riddles here. You know? Just some rum. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. I'll just fill this with water, because we can't drink it. We're like the ancient Greeks here. We're going to drink it straight. I mean, that wouldn't work. So just gonna get some water. You know, and we'll finish very soon. I think. So I'm getting tipsy. Okay. Oops. Okay. Right. Luke says, okay. There we go. Sorry, people. I am getting a bit tipsy, so I'm a bit slowing down a bit, so we will finish soon for that reason, unfortunately. Oh, I didn't see. Oh, Momo said something, but I didn't see where it was. Drunk Philosophy, Drunk History by Luna. See you, Luna. Isaac Mark says, lockdown in Five Eyes country, our Intel allies. Yeah. Oh, it's 2:23 p.m. in England. Nice. Hi, Mo. Yeah, awesome, Moby. Momo says, no, not recent. Okay, there's Momo. Sorry, it's just scrolled up. Ancient history criticism says, cheers. Tom Matteo, hello, Tom, says NASDAQ fall down. So what's happened is the NASDAQ, so this has been going for 3 hours 25, and I've drunk a lot. Now, Tom Matteo says the NASDAQ's falling. We're actually due for a crash. It happens usually in October, November. Don't blame me if it doesn't happen, but it will happen. People want to have money for the end of the year holidays, so they traditionally sell it in October, November. Watch out for that. It might happen. Just be careful, people. Be careful. A crash might be coming. I just want to say that. So Andrew says, what's your theory on protruding rock? I thought it was wood, and then you have the stone on top of the wood, and then you coat it. You coat it, like there's always a piece of wood there sticking out. And they cut it off, but then there's a piece of wood there at the bottom, right? The nubs are always at the bottom. Then you coat it, it's coated with the stone, you see, and it becomes stone, petrified stone. And then that becomes the nub. But ancient history says, no, that's not happening. So, I mean, like, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe. I've never seen a nub in real life, except maybe on the Egyptian temple in Netherlands, in a city, Leiden. There's an Egyptian museum in Leiden, and I went to an Egyptian temple. So I had last year, and I went to an Egyptian temple. Anyway, yeah, right. Okay, yeah. So Andrew Moore says Forster seems a bit aloof. Look, if you've been a tour guide a long time, you actually, ancient history criticism says Forster is gruff, but he's been arguing ideas a long time. Forster is what happens to people when you get a little bit older. He must be over 60, right? And I'm 39. When I'm getting ruder with people, more cynical, and I find it very amusing to be rude with them. But I was never like this before. But the only reason is I realize that it's all the same thing again and again and again. You know what I mean? Like, life just keeps going the same way again and again and again. And just keep continuing, and people act the same way, and things you wanted to say as you get older can now be said, you know what I mean? Because when you're a young man, you always respect your elders, and they're being rude to you, but you're respecting them because, you know, they know more than you. You know they know more than you, so you just keep respecting them. But as you get older, then you're in the position of the older ones, and you understand that you understand how things are, you know, and you understand that things are temporary. You understand that the young don't know anything at all, but they think they do because you were there once yourself, and you can start to change. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so Buckdog says, Brian plugs my tours constantly, Forster. He relies on this as income. Like, I'm now doing this as a hobby. Ancient Architects relies on this as income. I know Ancient History Criticisms does this as a hobby. He's actually a very humanities person, an arts person, an artist, I believe. Isn't that right, Ancient? And but Forster, Ancient Architects, they need to talk about popular things, and that's why he's gone to Egypt. They need to talk about this stuff. I've had half a bottle of this wrong, but we're still going. I mean, we seem to be still going, so let's keep going. And I'm not stupid, so let's keep going. So, yeah. So, Vonderlee says, Peru looks like a gold strip mining terraces to me. Luke Hanlon says gold in veins, gold in our veins. Ancient history says it's 9:30 a.m. Is it really? I thought it was 11:30 p.m. personally, but I'm sure you know better. Right. Matthew, sorry, Matthew. I just wanted to keep going because it was so fun, you know what I mean? Matthew says, holy shit, man, you're still going. My view says 14, 30, 32 in... so there we go. People are saying their ages now. So Momo says 39, lol, I'm 41. Luna says I'm 47. Yeah, people are all the same demographic. So Lee says I'm 49. Okay. Ah, cool. Interesting. My view says I've reached the half century. Yeah, that's so interesting. Evan S says time is a human construct. Golfman says, I agree. Brenda. And Andrew Mill says Forrester get really high donations from on his live shows. Does he? Oh my god! Yeah, I got a few donations. I got a donation earlier. There's some guy who's very generous. Wow, that's interesting. So what happens is Forster lives, because by living in Peru, if he's getting American dollars from his tours are not a high income job. He can make a lot of money in Peruvian dollars. In conventional dollars, not really. He's sort of stuck in Peru, isn't he? So I wouldn't like his job, but he wants to live there. He's, I'm sure, have you guys seen this film, Secret of the Incas? So Secret of the Incas, I believe it's with that man who was in the Ten Commandments. That man, what's his name? Martin Sheen? No, not Martin Sheen. Someone else. He died recently, 108 or something like that. And he was in many biblical films. And he was. Anyway, I am so sure that Brian Forster watched Secret of the Incas, and he said, I want to be that guy. And this guy is a prototype to Indiana Jones. And he said, I want to be him. And so he moved to Peru. He lives in Peru. And he's making, he's getting American dollars with the YouTube. He's happy. And he followed me on Twitter, so I'm happy about that. He knows who I am. So that's good. That's good, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's see what people said. So ancient history. So Curtis said, I'm 23. 23 is a very good age. Another very good age is 29. Another very good age is 30 or 31. And after that, it's sort of like 30s. Now I'm 39. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So, someone was laughing. Who was laughing? We reached the half century. So you've reached in Holland, you would say you've reached your Abraham. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. So Golfman says early 60s. Hello, Golfman, you're early 60s. That's still quite young. Honestly, 60s is 20 years more than 40. So that's not young. That's not, sorry. That's not old. That's young. 60 is still young. 60s is not a young man, but it's a mature, strong man. Alexander's warriors were often in their 60s. Seriously. With the phalanxes are 7 meter long. The people were 10 meters long. The people, the Persians were far away. Poke them. Who cares? So, Nigel says I look 36 to 40. So we can't really hide our age. We can't really change it. If I'm in a cap, I look 20s though. Seriously. I get age checked, but not with this. No way. So ancient history criticism says nubs hold the lintels in place, and the large standing stones has a nub. That one looks astronomical. Interesting. Interesting. So Buckdog says, you mean Isaac Hawass isn't the real Indiana Jones? Von der Lee says he has his own museum. So that's right, he does have his own museum, doesn't he? That's interesting. Bogus Hype says, Charles, if you had unlimited capital, how long would it take you to buy control over the world? What are you talking about, Bogus Hype? What are you on about? Sorry, mate, sorry. Isaac March says he's 32. Buckeye says, does Google Earth cover up ancient archaeology? Mad Husadan says, anything about Indian Sri Lankan history? I see a lot of Egypt history. Now, I know you Sri Lankans have actually a totally different view of the Mahabharata to the Indians, and you believe that the Indians have interjected their own Indian royalty into an earlier tradition, and you guys actually invented the Ramayana, and the Sri Lankans believe they invented the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which is quite interesting, actually. Anyway. So Monkey Science says, hi, Monkey Science, how you doing? He says, we should have a party. I'm having a party. I've drank half a bottle. Andrew Moore says, I asked him on his live show whether he watches you. He watches me! Yes! Wow, oh my God. So Asahoya says, damn, I can't write my spider web. Sorry for strange posts. Ancient History Criticism says, I'm watching Nub temples in India currently. So to you guys who don't know Ancient History Criticisms, his channel is dedicated to Nubs. Recently, he got a huge number of subscribers because Jimmy mentioned him. You guys know who Jimmy is. And Jimmy mentioned him and Bright Insight. And so Ancient History Criticisms, seems to be, to me, to be the world expert in ancient Nubs. There is no higher expert than Ancient History Criticisms in Nubs, in beveling, in the types of blocks people used. And it seems to me also, and to him, that, and he says the Colosseum, all the ancient round temples, all the ancient megalithic architecture was built by some kind of people long before the peoples who are ascribed to having built them existed. And isn't that interesting? Isn't that fascinating? Yeah. So Momo says, much love. Oh, it's a scroll. Momo says much love, but it scrolled away. Damn, why did it do that? Oh, there we go. Okay, so sorry, guys, I'm extremely tipsy. So Ancient History Criticism says, now I'm in the big boy table. You're in the big boy table now because you got the big, yes, you do have the big subscribers. You got 37,000 or something like that. Like you got the big boy, that's the big boy now. Like, so you're at the stage where YouTube, because YouTube is calling all of us fake news, basically, and this has to be said. YouTube thinks we're all fake news. So YouTube is basically saying we're not important, so we're not allowed to have any more subscribers than we do. So I asked Ancient Architects, and he said he's noticed that like YouTube is censoring him now. It's censoring me, it's censoring Megalithomania. I've noticed in his view count. It's maybe it will censor you. It's promoting British museum videos or Smithsonian videos now. Unfortunately, but what can we do? We've been making videos for years, but what can we do? You know, that's just the way it is. Yeah, unfortunately. Luke Hanlon says, great channel for Middle Eastern. Andrew Moore says, drunken mind is discovery mind. Well, actually, wine can... I'm not going to drink any more than this. That would be too much, but actually I won't drink any more. I'll leave this for tomorrow, but yes, apparently wine can improve the mind. It can make it better. Yeah, I still feel fine, honestly. Like all it does is slow down the perception. Like when you do that, it slows it down. But otherwise, I feel fine. Honestly, I hope I'm not making a fool of myself. So Adam says 54 for me, and yep, I'm becoming a grumpy old bastard already. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Like, and you see, like when we were young, we see the old people, and we think, what the hell is wrong with these people? But now we're getting a little bit older, and we're thinking, they're just having fun. You know what I mean? Like they're just having fun in their own way, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, so Buckeye says, does Google Earth cover up? Okay, I've read that. Adam says, if nubs look astronomical, then has anyone looked into the position of the nubs in Peru and their relationship to asteroid alignments? You know what? No. People only look at ley lines in England. That's it. They don't look at ley lines in China. They don't look at ley lines in Egypt. They exist. I've seen them on the map. They don't look at ley lines in Iraq. They don't look at ley lines in... They do look at ley lines in continental Europe. Ley lines seem confined to continental Europe and UK. That's it, right? And that's a massive problem because ley lines are everywhere. So you see what I mean? Yeah. So Nigel says some cultures an idea had to be argued, sober up and then drunk to see if it was a good idea. Momo says from Texas. Oh, you're in Texas, Momo. Oh, you're in Texas. You're in Texas? Sorry, it just keeps scrolling away. Oh dear. Okay. Luna Sparkle says, is that Matt from Ancient Architects? Luke Johnson says, cheers, Chuck. Hello, Luke. Ancient History Criticism says, beveled blocks. And hey, Sherman. Luke Hanlon says, yeah, buck dog. Samuel Reeves says, at what point is history not considered ancient anymore? Okay, let me tell you this. I've read a book about Melbourne in the 19th century. We had many banks, beautiful banks on Collins Street. I have a friend who is about 65 years old. She says she can't walk on Collins Street anymore, the best street in Australia, because all the beautiful old banks of the 19th century have been destroyed. Well, there are about half of them left. And some of the ancient ruins have been, some of the pillars, the Greek-style pillars, have been placed in front of the Melbourne Museum. And the book on Melbourne history I'm reading says these have been placed in front of the museum as if they were ancient ruins, which they are. So the 19th century, for our purposes, is the ancient world. At least not in the university system, but on YouTube, the 19th century is the ancient world. You look at the Tartarian Empire, supposedly, which doesn't exist, but supposedly it's a fun theory. Like it's escapism, okay? You're allowed to be escapist, okay? So the Tartarian Empire, apparently, is a Tesla-like empire. You're allowed to be escapist, and that is ancient history. It's on ancient history channels, so it's ancient history on YouTube. In the university system, it doesn't exist. Okay, so there you go. Funny, isn't it? Yeah, that's enough. That's enough of that. I'll finish that tomorrow for breakfast. I'll tell you what. Oh my god. So, are you drinking some vodka? Are you, Roy? Awesome. So, Evan says CFApp's YouTube channel uses Google Earth for lots of Midwest US sites. Gotta know what to look though. Yes, so CFApps, he seems to have totally adopted the Google Earth. So you're not allowed to use copyright material, but it seems since YouTube is Google anyway, they let you use Google Earth. They don't care. It's fine. And he's done an amazing job. And what CFApps has done, he's basically catalogued, he's trying to catalog everything, all the mounds, all the Aboriginal history of America, and that's such a commendable thing to do, to show people where it is, and people can go out and visit them. I mean, that's just the most amazing use of a YouTube channel. So CFApps is doing amazing work. CFApps himself, sometimes he posts his photo, or he actually looks a little bit Russian to me. Don't you think he's got a bit of a Russian look to him? And Russian people are very open-minded with regards to ancient mysteries. They love ancient mysteries, they love telepathy, they love all that sort of stuff. So maybe he's got a bit of a Russian background. I speculate he's got a bit of a Russian background, but I've never asked him. I have to ask him, you know. Yeah. Anyway, so Asahoya says, I guess here, the fake. We've been going for 3 hours 42 minutes. The fake pharaohs live in tents on the pyramids. They just got the we're turning into Castro. Castro can speak for 7 hours. There you go. So. Asahoya says, if he speaks for 7 hours, that means it's more important than if he speaks for 6 hours, right? That means it's more true, right? I don't know. Anyway, maybe he thinks that, or he thinks you think that. Anyway, so Asahoya, he did think that because he's dead. The fake pharaoh, or is he dead? I don't know, sure. The fake pharaohs lived in tents on the pyramid. They just lived the pre-flood culture. Andrew Moore says, let's have a sing-song land of hope and glory. I agree. Nigel says, Anunnaki, lost civilizations rule the planet. Luna Sparkle says, I watch all the channels, I guess. From Texas says, the megalith builders have nub projections on some. Adam says, maybe the nubs on the walls indicate some sort of solar alignment for ritualistic purposes, i.e. rite of initiation or something, the path to walk in, the ceremony or something. And my view says, just subbed to Ancient History Criticisms. He'll be very happy to hear that. He talks about nubs and ancient buildings, and Bright Insight was extremely impressed with him recently because Bright Insight learned from his channel that there was a megalithic civilization all over the world, and they built things which are accessible to us. Actually, it's recent. You could call it recent archaeology because all this stuff exists. Big buildings, big stones, it exists. It's not speculation. It's the same worldwide. And Ancient History Criticisms actually discovered this. Like, wow. Yeah, he's a good boy. So Adam says maybe the nubs on the walls indicate some sort of... I can't remember that. Yeah, yay, lol. Lol, Evan. Evan says ancient history, it's before 2016 for some people. Yeah, it is. It is before 20. You're right. Ancient history is, Evan, ancient history is last decade. Ancient history is the American pop songs, the the sort of the very soft, effeminate rock and roll, which I'm starting to appreciate finally. I didn't like it last decade, but now it's nostalgia of the previous decade, don't you think? Yeah. Ancient History Criticism says hitching posts at Machu Picchu and Pisac. Andrew Moore says, go to bed, set an alarm for middle of the night, sit up for 1 minute, then go to sleep, think about the nubs, answer will come. My view says Tartaria and rolls his eye or her eyes. Nigel says Captain Morgan. Captain, I'm drinking rum. It's not Captain Morgan. It's some rubbish. I was drinking, but I've stopped because I've realised that it's too much. I've had too much. Ancient History Criticism, CF Apps is a wizard with Google Earth. Yeah, okay. Guys, I'm going to leave it for now. You guys have to get to work. Americans have to get to work. Ancient History Criticism says, I share my catalogue with everyone. Charles has access to my photos. Thank you so much. You're the best. Guys, it's been great. Say goodbye to each other. Contact each other. Swap emails, swap phone numbers. Get into bed with one another. And I'll give you a minute to do that. And we'll switch off because I'm totally wasted. So, yeah. So Sherman, hello. He says AHC puts it together better than anybody, so go watch his research. Monkey Science says maybe they're like nubs. Bondaloo says maybe the sac theory. Poor sewing of placement of sac seams for geopolymer placement. I don't like the geopolymer anymore. I've changed my mind. It's melting. It's melting. Ancient says drink some water. I'll do that now. Adam says drink some water. Sherman, oh, thanks, Sherman. That's nice of you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I'm wasted, so I'll stop. Ancient says I don't like geopolymer. Yeah, yeah. Davidovitz, I believe, was partly right, partly wrong. It's more melting because there is no geopolymer in the ancient legends. There is melting in the ancient legends. Simple as that, right, guys? And we'll conclude on that. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Shermanator. And I love you all. And catch you soon. I'll show you the video of the Atlantis alphabet soon because I promised that in this video. And goodbye. And say goodbye to everyone else. I'll let you say your goodbyes and we'll definitely finish now. Yeah, goodbye. Woohoo, woohoo. I love this woohoo. Good night. Bye, Bondaloo. And yeah, I'll show you the Atlantis video soon. Maybe a bit better. And yeah, just some salt. Okay, I'm going to end the stream now. Guys, good night. Cheers. Thank you for being here. Cheers.